Thanks. Welcome to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I, of course, as always, am Chat Show. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to go sans hat. You know, I learned an important lesson in the last show with Kevin Smith, and that is never have the guest reach across the table and grab the hat from your head. So to make sure that that never happens again. Did you like that theme song? It's a contest winner. You know, we have this thing where we like to involve you, and by you, I think you know who I was talking to. And so that theme song was written by a wonderful group called the Fallen Stars. I want to thank their manager, Mike Rotman, for bringing them to my attention initially, but then they forwarded this theme song, and I said, yeah, throw that shit up there for damn hell's sake. At the Fallen Stars is how you reach them on Twitter. You should know they were actually voted Best Live Band 2009 at the SoCal Live Music Competition. Okay? You can go to the website, www.thefallenstars.com. Listen to their music, support their indie scene. What it said there. CDs are on sale. Really? But I want to thank them for that, and I offer this contest to anybody else that would like to write the opening theme music, and I will plug your wares and help you sell your things if you help be a part of this show. Speaking of which, there's a new book out with maybe my favorite title of a book in about 13 years. I am so thrilled that Jonathan Lippman and Mark Hirschhorn wrote this book just for the title alone, that this is in the Library of Congress. God bless America. But I didn't want to have him as a guest on the show, so I just thought I'd throw up the book. Here's the thing. We took last Sunday off, which I'm really not thrilled about. I don't like missing a week when I'm just sitting around by the pool. But apparently the country had a birthday kind of thing. So everyone at Team Chat Show got the day off. And I hope you had a nice 4th of July, because all the Jews I know do not celebrate. But it's one of those poolside barbecue things, right? And then you watch some fireworks. So a group of us got together. We sat by a pool. We had ourselves some turkey burgers. All right, don't push. And then we watched some good old American fireworks. We have a rooftop deck there in Venice, California, and there was about a dozen of us huddled up there. And it turns out we had kind of a 360. Oh, look, there's the Hollywood Bowl. Oh, look, there's Marina del Rey. Oh, look, there's downtown LA. I didn't realize we had a view of any of those places until there was lights in the sky. But that was pretty damn cool. I hope yours was nice. And so much has been happening since I spoke to you last. On the 5th of July, we were supposed to do a show, of course, and since the Team Chat Show got the day off, Jamie Foxx, nope, not him. We went to Hollywood Park because our friend Bobby Flay, let me get that. That's how loud his name is. We went to the Hollywood Park because Bobby had a horse that was running in the big, giant $700,000 big race there. I wish I could remember the name of it because it was pretty damn important and cool. And his horse came in, I think, 11th out of 14th, so not an altogether great day. But he said, "What do you get when your horse comes in 11th?" The check. There were 12 of us sitting around eating, and yeah, he got that check. He sure did. So we had ourselves a time, and we did this. We were invited, of course, to host Bobby and his lovely wife, Stephanie, and it was so wonderful. And day at the park, betting on the ponies, just fantastic. And the people at the table had engaged in something called the show pool, which is everyone puts in $10 each, and then each person, one at a time, will pick a horse. There's 14 races. A horse from the race to either win, place, or show. Show being the bet that covers all three, so show pool. And Bobby, I think, went first. We came in third, I think, whatever. We hung in there. He kept us alive. Stephanie kept us alive. I kept us alive. I actually did well in the race that I picked, because the horse I picked came in second. I boxed it with another horse, which came in first, and I won kind of crazy money on that little outing. But Jamie, I'll have you know, the only one out of 12 who picked the absolute winner, the horse to come in first, which was pretty damn excited. And our money was just piling up, because, you know, it builds each time. And if you keep rolling it over, you know, and Bobby's telling us, oh, we can get this up to thousands, and we're all like, $10, thousands, sweet. And then the guy who picks a horse after Jamie picked a horse called High Intellect. You asshole. What kind of a horse wins a race with the name of High Intellect? Let me just check. Nope, never happened. There's a lot of things going on at the track. Intellect ain't one of them. So, yeah, we lost it all on that genius. And then the last race of the day, as we're all kind of leaving, all right, goodbye, because 14 races is a goodly amount of time to get all that in. And everyone's saying goodbye. Yeah, who so-and-so bet on the last race? Oh, good. Well, we don't want his action. It was the genius that took High Intellect. And, of course, his horse won straight out in the final race. So we kind of wanted to kick his ass. But it was an amazing time, and I wanted to thank Bobby and Steph, who are new viewers to the show there in your New York City area. And Bobby has agreed to be my first Iron Chef on the show, so I'm excited to get him booked. We've had a couple of new bookings come in, which I will tell you about. So the last show we did was out of New York, because I'm still doing this Kevin Smith film called A Couple of Dicks. And we're having a lot of fun. Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis are ripping this thing up as the comedy duo, hence the title. And but I was stuck in New York there over the weekend, and so I said, well, let's get a studio to do the show there. And some people came through who I thanked live on the show. Kevin Smith was my guest, and he spoke for 2.5 hours. I talked for 9 of it. He was phenomenal, and as I mentioned, ripped the hat off my head. About an hour in, as was pointed out to me. So after bitching about it 6 times, he finally said, you know what, give me that. But I neglected to thank Alex Miller, one of the team chat show from here in Santa Monica, who was on the phone minutes and then seconds right up to going live, helping to make sure the show actually happened. And also our makeup artist there in New York, Mary Aaron, who I did not thank, who I stole from the Couple of Dicks hair and makeup truck. I also mentioned briefly from New York, just prior to that interview, we somehow made the column 1 above the fold front page of the LA Times. David Sarno is the name of the journalist who came here a couple of months ago and took some photos and asked some questions to the crew and myself. And you know, you have expectations and hopes for the LA Times is coming. Maybe the entertainment section, all right, the business section's fine. Column 1, front page above the fold, the LA Times, for a guy like me, doesn't happen unless I kill someone. So it was beyond a watershed moment for all of us. But I wanted to reiterate the importance of this more than I did the first time during the Kevin Smith show, that as I've been screaming from day one that this is your show, and do with it as you will. That article doesn't happen without each and every one of you telling people that you know about this show. We didn't hire a publicist. We have no marketing department. Column 1, front page of the LA Times is now possible because of you and what you think about this show. We didn't call the LA Times. They came after us. And I don't know how they found out. So I'm guessing, and I'm assuming, that we, as in you, pulled this miracle off. And I will not stop stressing and talking about how miraculous I think that is. And it is now physical evidence of what something like this is capable of. And that's what I celebrate the most. So thank you all very much for that. You know, I've also been talking about this other movie I'm doing here in Los Angeles that I co-wrote with George Gallo, who was a guest on this show, Columbus Circle. This miracle is actually happening. We've been shooting now for several weeks, and as some of you know, we got off the plane with him and our producer, our benefactor, Chris Malick from Cannes Film Festival on May 21st with an idea that we created on the plane, and June 19th we started shooting. And we're almost done. We got about 2 weeks left, and Jason Lee and Giovanna Ribisi and Selma Blair and Amy Smart. It's just been extraordinary, and I'm going to have a lot more to tell you about it as it continues to unfold. But it's still happening. We didn't actually get thrown off the lot yet, so I wanted to keep you updated on that. I'm very excited about my guest today. You know, my co-executive producer, Jason Calacanis, got through the first couple of days of the World Series of Poker. He weaseled his way into the World Series of Poker through the auspices of Full Tilt. Was it Full Tilt? Yeah. It was indeed Full Tilt. And I thought that was impressive, because you know it's $10,000 entrance fee. And he said, yeah, I'm being sponsored. Why? Nobody cares about you. And apparently Full Tilt bought that. There he is. Is he here? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. He threatened to come in and be interviewed, and I was thinking that actually he had pulled up lame, speaking of Bobby Flay's horse, and sure enough, he's here. So if we can mic his ass, I want to get him in here for a couple of minutes to talk about this extraordinary experience that I am unbelievably anxious to hear about. Come on in, buddy boy. So, like I said, no one really cares that he was there. So I want to hear what it was like from his perspective that he got, you know, who he played against, who he faced up. Because a friend of ours just finished, with day 5, he made it into the money, finished 320th out of, I think, damn near 7,000, maybe more. We'll have Jason here in a second to tell us about it. So before I bring out my, my big filmmaker guest, who I've known for many years, and unbelievably proud to call him my friend, Mike Binder, I wanted to just throw in some words here from the field, a field report from the World Series of Poker. Please welcome my co-executive producer and co-launcher of this network we're attempting to move through the universe, Mr. Jason Calacanis. Jason.
Good to see you.
Buddy.
How's everything? Just checking my hair here. Yes.
Thanks so much for flying in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just landed the Mahalo helicopter up above the studio.
Now, so you
next time, can you park your helicopter just a little bit to the right?
I like the whole building. The whole building. You know what I mean? You heard the preamble.
Yeah.
Nobody cares that you were there. First of all, how did you get Full Tilt to go along with this? Come on. Because it's not going to happen next year. Trust me, you've burnt this bridge.
Actually, interestingly enough, they've
already agreed to sponsor you next year?
Basically. They want to do like a whole program and series of things, which is kind of cool. And they watch the show. And they're big into social media, so they're on Twitter, they're on the web, obviously. A lot of people are gambling online or doing it for free.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, what did you say? People are gambling
outside
online?
the United States are gambling online.
Yeah.
But it's actually an interesting topic. I mean, not to sidetrack the show, but this is becoming a huge business, online gambling, and the only country that is not taking part in this boom is the United States because of our antiquated regulations.
Right.
So we're basically taking like a multi-billion-dollar industry and giving it to people in Europe or Asia. But that's probably going to change. But
for tax purposes alone, it has to change.
It has to change. This is like the legalization of marijuana and other things. We could fix almost all the problems we're having in this country in terms of the deficit if we just did those two things.
Maybe we should ask the Native Americans how they did with the whole gambling thing, and if that worked out for them.
Yeah, I think it worked out okay.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. But it was a lot of fun.
So you call up Full Tilt and you
Hold on a second while I just turn off my... Yeah, let me just turn off my phone.
Is that you ringing from the other room?
No, it's basically people are seeing me on the show going, let me call in and say, hey, Jason, you're on the show?
Is your shit officially blowing up?
My shit just blew up here, right now on the show.
So you call Full Tilt or they call you?
There's a PR group that does all the public relations for all these different poker stars and poker sites, and they include Full Tilt and the World Series of Poker. It's like Academy.
Right.
So they asked me to play on the Dream Team Poker, which is another poker tournament.
Right.
And they said, hey, will you be on our team? These guys at Wicked Chops, they're a PR firm. I said, sure, I'll be on the team because other people we know were going. They were nice guys. Then they said, hey, by the way, we were talking to Full Tilt, and they like your email newsletter, they like what you're doing with your show and everything. Would you like to play on Full Tilt Poker's team? And I was like, what does that exactly mean? And it means, well, it means he'll pay for your buy-in at the World Series of Poker, which is 10 large.
Yes.
And
10
I
dimes.
said, yeah, 10 dimes. What do they call it? High society? High society. And I was like, well, what do I have to do with them? And they're like, wear like a full tilt logo. So like
you were all pimped out.
I had like a full tilt hat on, had a full tilt thing here, I one on the back. I was like, full tilt! And ran in. I was like, this is the greatest site ever!
By the way, it only cost them 10 grand to turn you into a monkey.
But then, yeah, no, that's my price. If anybody out there was wondering.
Everyone's got a number, baby.
It's 10.
Yours is 10 large.
10 a session, but it was great because I Twittered it.
Yeah,
it became a news event that a CEO was playing, and there's a couple of other internet CEOs playing. It turns out Barry Greenstein and some other guys who are really big pros were also internet guys or technology guys. So there seems to be like celebrities and internet people intersecting.
You hand out some business cards to get some of these people on the show?
There'll be some people coming. I think Phil Hellmuth and Barry Greenstein, some of these guys would love to be on the show.
I would love those guys.
And I think Full Tilt should sponsor the show. That's what I want to do.
It seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We talk about a hand every time, but...
Exactly. We'll, okay, so it's your first time playing the World Series of Poker. All right, you're all set up, you're all suited up.
Yeah, I'm geared up.
And I'm reading your tweets, and it's all you can do not to levitate. I just pictured you walking on the floor over at the Rio, and you're a good 7 feet off the floor. You can't get Jason back down into a seat. So, what is the buildup? Give me like the 15 minutes right before shut up and deal.
There are conservatively 3,000 or 4,000 people in a hallway. Nerds, essentially poker nerds, like cattle, and just waiting to go in. They open the doors, and it's basically a football field of poker tables.
How much time before the start do they open the gate?
Like maybe 10 minutes.
Are you shitting me?
No.
They have everyone just waiting at a door?
In a hallway, and the tension level...
That's ridiculous.
Right, but the tension level, because everybody's got 10 riding on it...
Like they don't have tension
already. So high.
Oh, my God.
So everybody's just there, like... People are on tilt before they're even at the table because it's like, what if I bust out in the first hand? Your mind is going crazy because,
10 minutes.
Yeah, so everybody sits, and then you sit down, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, let's see who the competition is. So you're looking at your table going, whatever. And I look over and I see Jamie Gold at the table next to me, and I was like, why couldn't I be at that table? He's a donkey. I want to play with him.
Throw up the picture of the genius sitting there while we're chatting. Go ahead. All right, so there you are, Pimp Daddy. Pimp Daddy. So you looking sharp, man, with your bubble sunglasses and all.
Well, so I sit. The first thing the guy says, he goes, "You were on ESPN too, right? Were you in the WPT celebrity thing?" And I was like, I'm not really feel like talking. I had a late night, But everybody assumes you're a professional because you have the full tilt on. So then the second day, some guy asked me, like, what professional are you? Did you have a book? And I'm like, yeah, no, I had a book, but, whatever. I don't want to talk about it kind of thing. But,
nice.
Yeah, that was my nerd photo. Jade took that one.
By the way, you could almost not convince me that that's you. You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? It's like you could argue.
That's Sheikh Mohammed Azahira.
Yeah,
he was the 21st hijacker.
If you showed me that and said, "This is me," my first response would be, "No, it isn't."
Well, I just thought, I'm comfortable in a suit, so I'm just gonna. They were like, "Oh, can you wear a jersey?"
All right.
And I was like, "I'm not gonna dress like a hip-hop
So they open the
guy.
gate. You fly through along with how many players?
Thousands of people, like 2,000 to 3,000.
And you were on what day? Which start day?
I was on the third start day, so it builds up. Like day one is the day before. It's like 800 people, 1,200 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people. So I was on day 3.
And of course, day 4
they turned away
500 people at $10,000 a piece, which for those of you who are not great on math is $5 million.
Million prize money.
Yeah.
It was. I wouldn't say the World Series of Poker is
well organized.
I wouldn't say it's run poorly, but I wouldn't say it's run well.
No.
It's somewhere in between. But so then you sit and everybody sort of scopes each other out, what's going on, and people are panicking, and it's just like this massive tension.
How many hands before you play? How many hands were dealt before you played a hand?
I think I had the button really early.
Stop thinking. You know the exact number,
It was like maybe
Jason.
three or four. 3 or 4 and
you played?
Yeah. Well, I was on the button. I just figured it's cheap. The thing people don't understand about this tournament is it's deep stack.
You have 30,000.
You have 30,000 chips, and it starts at 5,100. Right. So you're sitting there with 300 big blinds. For people who don't play poker, that's one of the measures for how long you're going to.
Yeah. 30,000 in chips is no brainer to play $100. You're in your big blind, and it gets checked around to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course you're in that hand.
Right.
How many hands before you're saying I call a raise in order to see a flop up to $500 or $600? How many hands had to go by before that?
Maybe hour 2.
Right.
I sat back for hour 1 because there was one guy who was just pounding it every hand, and he went from 30 to 10, I kid you not, in the first hour of play. And there were many people like this who you said, why?
Yeah.
Why did you put $10,000? It's like a $300 tournament at the Venetian. Go there and learn.
Yeah.
You don't learn, but there were people literally learning how to play poker.
Right.
Like, you know, it was bizarre.
Yeah. Okay, so now you make it to day 2.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that process. How many hours is day 1 of actual playing time?
5 levels.
Right. Oh, Jesus.
2 hours each.
10 hours. Yeah,
it's literally 10 hours.
It goes from being fun to a job.
It starts at noon.
Right.
And we bagged our chips at 1 a.m. with an hour-and-a-half break for dinner and then 20-minute breaks after each level.
And how many guys are wandering around? This is not what I thought it was going to be. You know?
The worst part is you have to obviously hit the head, and so you go to the bathroom.
Right.
And this is the first time I've ever seen this. I've seen women take over the men's bathroom. Men took over the women's bathroom.
Right.
And you get into the bathroom, and it's like that Seinfeld episode where, like, you know, it was just a bad scene to go into a bathroom where people have 20 minutes to go, and it was, bad.
Jamie, you know what Seinfeld episode he's talking about? Based on that? No.
When they're on the airplane and the woman anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were reading. You were doing your job. I'm sorry. My bag.
But it was a lot of tension.
Yeah, needless to say.
And I went down as low as 10,000.
Guys in women's bathrooms. Wow.
Yeah.
You haven't seen that since your stripper days.
No.
Okay, so you're down to 10,000 when day 1 ends.
No. I was down to 10,000 in the middle of the day, and I'm getting super depressed because I'm like, I had good cards and I bet them, and then some people were just acting crazy. I had a guy next to me who was like from Russia or something like that with the hood over like this, and he's crouched down like this, and he's just 3,000, 6,000, 8,000. Like every hand, and people are just like, wow. So he runs up to 110,000. I went down to 10,000. I lost like 12,000 to him on one hand. Anyway, it was not fun. Then I built it all back up to 38. I ended day 1 with 31, got into day 2, and got great cards for day 2, but didn't get anything on the flop. And when I sat down at my table, I was a short stack with 31, and there were some guys with over 100. So you basically, it's totally different than any cash game that we play in or any other game you play in, because the dynamics of stealing blinds becomes about 2/3 of the game.
Absolutely.
Like, at least. And it's going on a level that I've never played in, which is stealing the blinds is like, that's baby stuff. It's re-raising, a re-raise, going all in to steal blinds.
Right.
That's the level of people are playing at. Like, just trying to steal blinds on the button? No. That's like phase 1. I mean, people are doing that 3 times in.
It's the 7th level of Spock's chess game.
It's intense,
yeah.
But
that's
a great
what people
experience,
don't realize. They think, well, you know, it's another tournament. I've played in tournaments. Yeah, no, you have no idea.
And people are really concentrating. Like, I was counting the number of times people were stealing blinds.
Right.
So I knew everybody at my table, because you play with the same people for the whole day until they bust out.
Right.
And
you're exhausted.
You're exhausted. So you're in hour 9, and I'm trying to remember, okay, how many times has this person tried to steal on the button or not? And then, okay, wait a second, they changed up their style. And the guy next to me was twittering. So we became Twitter friends halfway through, and then I look, and he's like, set table presence, now ready to capitalize on it. And I was like, wait a second, this guy's the one who's robbing blinds the whole day.
Right.
Did he just Twitter to the table that...
or is he just tweeting to you?
Or is he just tweeting to me that he's
for you.
Yeah, and then I'm going to try to come over the top, and he's going to have something amazing.
Tell me about sleeping at the Rio after day 1. Do you hit the pillow and you're just like so exhausted that, or are you playing hands over and over and over in your head?
Well, number 1, I wouldn't stay at the Rio. No offense to the Rio.
I'm sorry, my bad. That was ridiculous of me to even assume that you would stay at the Rio.
No. So when we got back to the Wind Tower Suites,
exactly.
It's quite nice. No, you're amped, and so I took a little Ambien, boom, pass out, and you're fine. And then it starts at noon, so it's not that big of a deal, you know. Like, but then the crazy part is people go out and they finish day 1, and then they need to get action, so they're going and playing blackjack or in side games.
Oh no, you're playing with a lot of degenerates.
I think there were some gambling degenerates there.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
So after your pill popping experience, you show up the next day and it's noon.
Yeah.
Right?
Day 2.
You're rested. You may or may not have had sex with people in the next room because, again, you took an Ambien.
Right.
And, and you sit down and you play all new people at your table.
All new people.
Okay. So once again you pick and you get shuffled around. And is it once again with the gates opening up at 10 minutes
to go?
Same thing,
yeah.
God,
and
so
luckily the full tilt people had a beautiful suite. Did I mention Full Tilt had this great suite? It's amazing. Like,
surprised you're not wearing the hat.
Exactly. And you get in there, and the people are in the room, and the tension is just like for day 2 was double day 1. People are
This is what I love about it, actually. This tension is caused from people actually thinking that they have a shot and that this is not just a lottery.
Yeah.
That you don't have to get lucky for 6 or 7 days in a row in order to somehow squeak by.
You can get knocked out at any time. Yeah. Although, with that deep of a stack, we had a lot of discussions about strategy, obviously, before we started playing, and it was like, if somebody goes all in the first 2 hours and you have aces, what do you do?
Right.
And the answer actually is, you fold.
You fold.
Because on the 15% chance that you lose,
right.
Why would you even take that chance? You don't have to. You don't have to make your money off that single hand.
That's exactly it. It's such a different mentality.
Totally different game than anything I've ever played.
And so if Full Tilt, for some bizarre reason, decides not to sponsor you next year, is this something that was so much fun for you that you would actually plunk down 10 dimes of your own? It's a pretty exciting experience, right?
I would definitely go again.
Yeah.
I can't see myself not going again.
I sense that. You're hooked.
Yeah. It is one of those, like...
And our buddy Josh finished higher up, a little higher up, but still he finished a little higher up than last year.
Yeah, he was in the top 5%. I mean, I went out number 3,000 or so out of 6,500.
And he went out 320.
And he went out 320. Yeah. So I was in the top half. He was in the top 5%. I mean,
yeah,
and he had less chips than me going into day 2. He had 10,000. I had 31,000. So
right. That says a lot about his ability
and the lack of my ability.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you racing down here. I basically called you with like 10 minutes warning.
No, it's totally cool.
Please come and share a little bit of this. Yeah. And I really do appreciate it.
The Kevin show in New York was amazing.
Oh, the Kevin Smith?
Amazing.
2.5 hours? It was ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it had I think it had more penis than the Bruno movie. Actually.
Jamie says that balls are the new tits.
Balls are the
in comedy movies now. It's just all about balls, and I love that joke.
Yeah, when you see
balls are the new tits.
When you see the new Bruno movie, you'll
remember in the '80s when the comedies, just raunchy comedies. Oh my God, the tits are so funny. Now it's show me your nuts. All right, you saw Bruno, and you say thumbs up or thumbs sideways?
I think thumbs up because
you tweeted. I want to talk to my gay friends. Are you the one that tweeted that?
Yeah,
I wonder how my gay friends feel about this film.
Yes.
Because they don't have a sense of humor about themselves? I mean, what do you
No, but because it's all this, like, GLAAD came out and officially said, like, 9-9, not good.
Shocking.
Yeah, so I was just curious if they liked it or not, and, like, one person thought it was a little heavy-handed, the other person thought it was brilliant. I mean, there's a scene or two in it where the homophobia and, like, people's desire in the South of America to literally kill gay men.
I know.
Was like Matthew Shepard scary, like.
But you got to understand, for the Jews, it's exciting to see them interested in killing somebody else. It really is. It's so no.
Fair enough.
No.
He tackled that in the last movie, I think.
Right. The Jews in the previous movie with the mice and the setting. Oh my God, throwing $1 crumpled dollar bills when he stayed in the bed and breakfast of the old Jews. Oh my God. Yeah. I can't wait to see it, and I appreciate you very much for stopping by and giving us a little bit of insight.
A little insight.
Because I'm not going to have Chade on the show.
Would you do it? Would you go?
Talk to your friends at Full Tilt.
I don't know if you would go for 10
hours. To be honest with you, I would hate it. I would probably go for the experience so I could sit here and talk about it, but I would absolutely hate it. Yeah. I hate tournaments. I mean, I don't know why, because I've only played in 7 and I've final tabled in 3 of the 7. Those are pretty good statistics.
Those are awesome.
But
is it
I've never sat at 6,500 people. No, 450, 500 people.
That's significant.
But I would, the times that I didn't final table, so okay, let me just check. I think I just played beautifully for 7 hours, and now it's done.
I have nothing.
7 hours of a cash game with all the moves I made. So
you're good.
Happy. So happy, yeah. Anyway.
14 hours of my life gone.
We're going to talk to Alex on the way out.
Yeah.
We're going to try to sit down this week to talk a little more succinctly about our new network and all of that.
Good.
Right. But thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Jason Kalkanis, ladies and Jews, bring those paws together. A little insight, little field report from the World Series of Poker. And for those of you who've forgotten, all right. I'm very excited that that's the first time we had a little sort of drop in, a last minute, hey, stop by and give us a little insight into something that just happened in your life. So that was kind of exciting for me. I don't know what it was like for you. Why don't you hit us at the Twitter or the home website and let us know right away what you thought of that little dog and pony. And in the meantime, I will center myself to bring out my real guest. Prior to that, I will just mention a couple of upcoming guests. Next Sunday, the insanely funny Nick Swardson, he from Reno 911, of course, playing a ridiculously great character on that, but also a wonderful screenwriter and stand-up comedian and funny actor. And Gay Robot. Did the Gay Robot thing actually ever go on? I think it did, because John DiMaggio was saying, "I'll crush Swardson." It didn't?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
It's great, though.
Yeah, it sure was. And then our next, and possibly last, probably not, but our next show from New York, as I finish the movie, is with Broadway superstar Craig Bierko, which I'm unbelievably thrilled about. That's August 2nd. And then we come back here with a couple of cats from Human Giant, Paul Scheer and Rob Hubel. Am I saying that correctly? Yeah, good, because I'm terrible with names. And then, that's August 9th, the guys from Human Giant. Hilarious. And then the following Sunday, another whale, as I like to call them, a director. I think his name is, I'm sorry, I'm being coy and I'm being an asshole, and there's not even any reason for it. Just because I think the world. Bryan Singer, the director of those movies. All right. The only other experience I was going to tell you about before I was forced to bring in Calacanis because he was here, I was hoping I could just rat about him when he wasn't here, was that what came from the day at the Hollywood Park was also ended up a friend of Steph, Bobby's wife, Stephanie March, a great actress in her own right. The guy's a writer on American Dad, so we went to a table reading of American Dad, and seeing Seth MacFarlane, it was a big Roger Stan episode, and to see him do those two characters talking to each other back and forth rapid fire for a half hour was about as hilarious a thing as I've seen in a long time. And so I just wanted to thank Jonathan Fenner, who's a writer on the show and wrote that episode and is potentially watching. But that was a great time, and thank you for that. And allegedly, Seth MacFarlane has agreed to come on the show. Enough with the name dropping and threatening. Let's get right to it, shall we? My guest is somebody, I first saw him on television before I got to know him. I was still in San Francisco as a young stand-up comedian, and an even younger, all right, by like almost a year, barely, comedian was on the show called Make Me Laugh. And it was one of the first shows, really, that featured stand-up comedians doing something other than their act, per se, against a wall and talking to the audience. And it was pretty riveting for anyone in the stand-up comedy community at the time. And to get on the show was like, how do you get on this show? So everyone on it was like a superstar instantly to every comedian watching. And I remember watching this show religiously. And there you start to collect, like baseball cards, a couple of comedians. This guy I like, this one I don't like. And I just remember really admiring this guy and what he brought to it. It was a very hard thing to do, the concept of that show. And most guys did not do it well, and those that did stood out even more, and so on and so forth. So I kind of followed this guy a little bit through that first. And then when I moved to LA, I started to hear a few other things. We had mutual friends. We eventually met. And heard a little of his story way back when, and didn't care for it. But we became friends and then worked together several times, and he's been a really dear friend and a tremendous sort of inspiration for me on a number of occasions, which we'll get to. And so please welcome Mike Binder. Mike, buddy. So sorry for the interruption of the. We can't pretend we have a studio audience, and yet we do. Sorry for the interruption with bringing the little...
No, it was actually interesting.
Right?
I was always curious. Those things are all a big blur to me.
Yeah.
Mark Thompson had one for charity here, and I was there for about a half hour and said, "Here, just take all my money,
right?
And just please let me leave."
The tournament.
I can't concentrate this hard.
Yeah, right?
You know.
And for what?
Yeah.
At some point. And
Yeah.
for what? First of all, thanks very much.
My pleasure. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you, buddy. You know, I have no choice to start off in a not...
No, you always have a choice, okay? Because
you know, you're right.
Yeah.
I had a choice.
Okay.
I made a decision
All right.
very quickly and
All
very
right.
easily that I had to start off in a somewhat adversarial way.
I knew it. Okay.
And it's only because you have had a champion in your backyard in the world of sports for many, 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 many years. And in fact, you had a big birthday party a year ago, and we saw your team the Detroit Red Wings, and they won the Stanley Cup, and it was kind of a David and Goliath scenario a year ago.
Yeah.
When they just knocked these kids around who stood up fairly well, but the average age of the Penguins was like 22 last year.
Yeah.
So the Red Wings were like, okay, kids, we're going to be the men, and we're going to show you how to play. So this year, the fact you've been a hockey fan.
Can I take a call?
Your whole life, please do.
No,
but you've been a hockey fan your whole life, and I want to know when you have it in your blood, because growing up in Northern California, it's not a part of our existence at all. When you have it in your blood that they were one of the original 6. Is that what they were called? Right. So the legend and lore of we were talking about comic books before, but in terms of sports, almost more so than the Tigers or even the Lions, it seems like there's something about hockey, because I'm new to it, that its fans, I don't know, it's more of a personalized thing.
Well, even more in Detroit, because you have to remember also that Detroit is right there on the border of Canada.
Exactly.
And, you know, a lot of Detroiters are Canadians for a lot of different reasons. So hockey, and just where the Red Wings started, you know, and when they play Olympia, when you know, it's a little bit deeper. It's and also, to be honest, I would say the last 10 years too, 10, 12 years, I think the Illiches have owned it that long, but whatever, just kind of even taking it to a whole nother level, winning, you know, and Detroit needs winners.
Yes.
And so, you know,
I mean, I know you love all of your sports teams. I remember being on the auspices of Tony La Russa during the World Series when somehow St. Louis beat the unbeatable Tigers. And we were texting each other, and I could feel this thing slipping away and what it meant to you. So I don't mean to suggest that this is the only Detroit team you care about.
No. But, and I also, you know, I personally think, you know, that the Red Wings, these guys have so much heart. You know, I mean, I have a couple friends on the team, you know, and I mean, these guys have so much heart.
Right.
It's like, it's just dripping, bleeding, you know. I mean, they've had some horrible things happen to them as a team, and they've, you know, just even, you know, but by the same token, you know, I'm one of these guys that, you know, I'm happy. To me, I happened to have been in London during that series, so I was reading about it in the International Herald Tribune. Do you know what I mean? I know you've been in another country for
I'm going to tell you a story where we're trying to get to sleep after a party at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and this one over here, it was during the playoffs against the Canes. Who was playing when we got up at 4 in the morning to check the score? I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
The one before that.
Well, I wasn't doing that this time because I had to work all day during the day, you know, and my sleeping screwy enough was when I'm in London.
Sure.
But so when you're away and you're just reading about it in the paper or on the net the next morning, there's a little bit of difference. But by the same token, you know, and again, like I say, I love these guys and I love their heart and everything, but I personally, that was a great series.
Well, it was a historical series.
That was like what it's all about.
It's all sports are about. Yeah.
When you get down to that last game, nobody loses.
Right.
Nobody loses. And even though, you want to be the team cheering in the streets, and you know you want the celebration at your place. Right. Nobody loses. You know.
It was an extraordinary. And what I wanted to ask you also was from your history with the team and your memory growing up with this team, do you even remember that 2 years in a row the same two teams got to the Stanley Cup? I mean, that in itself seemed like an extraordinary situation building to, and then the 7 games and the whole thing. Can I just say, is it Hossa or Hossa? The player from the Pens who defected. Hossa? Yeah, that's the reason you lost. He defected from the Penguins to play with the Red Wings.
I thought you were asking her. You're expert here.
Oh, no, she knew. But that's the only reason it went the other way. I mean, the whole thing was Shakespearean with him jumping teams specifically to get himself up.
But listen, you know, when you talked about that World Series that you were at, and if you remember, I was getting on a plane to go there.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
And because of the weather, I didn't. A game was rained out, so I didn't make that game, so I was going to the next game. Do you remember this?
Yep.
And even that, it didn't have the, gargantuan kind of climactic proportions of this series. there was so much emotion for Detroiters. There was so much emotion for Detroiters because, and it wasn't same year back, but in 1968, Detroit played the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you know about this?
Yes.
Obviously,
yes.
you know that this was like a great series.
Yeah.
So it was like this 30-year rematch coming to life for me.
Right.
And
you heard about the '68 your whole life.
Well, no, I watched every second of the '68 World Series when I was a kid.
Right.
It's like ingrained in my psyche.
Yeah.
So I was sure we were going to win.
You were unbeatable that year.
I was sure. I was sure that this was history repeats itself
for a reason too.
Yeah. No. I mean, I had 30 reasons. I could give you the parables and the balance and the world spins around and it happens and. You know, and so that's what you were getting those texts from me. It was like I couldn't believe it, and that was a different kind of beat.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, God,
that was a different kind of beat.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
You know.
You spent a lot of your youth in Canada at a place called TAMAKWA.
Camp TAMAKWA.
And that had a lot to do with shaping, I think, who you became as a man.
I had several of my first homosexual experiences in the woods there.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't think anyone should be sorry.
No,
except for the young men.
Yeah, except for the young men.
And also the fact that your son is here now.
Yeah. No, you know,
to shape who you are.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that part of it.
Well, you know, we would go up every summer. I went I started in 1966.
Jeez.
And I went up there every summer. It would be a 7-hour bus ride, and we would go deep into the woods of the Algonquin Forest.
Right.
With this
4 hours north of Toronto.
4 hours north of Toronto.
Right.
No, it's about three hours. It's a 7-hour bus ride from Detroit.
Right.
With this big, burly, kind of living legend of a man named Lou Handler, who had since the late 40s been taking boys up into the woods and making men out of them.
Right.
And then in 49 said, what the hell, we'll take some women too. And created this camp in the woods with a group of guys, you know, Max Bardenstein and just this legendary group of guys, Mike Kraft. And you know, I got up there as a young kid. I mean, I was only, I think, I was like 8 years old, my first summer. And the guys that were my counselors, just, you know, my counselors, my first years were guys like Michael Budman and Don Green, who went on to create Roots, and guys like Norby Zuckerman, and these bigger than life kind of guys, you know, and they were already at 18, like, okay, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Right.
And they were just so full of life and so athletic and so, you know, they'd go on these canoe trips and everyone had so many skills, and it was like, and I couldn't compete. Right. I just, right off first year, I said, you know what, I better just tuck right in here and hide under a tree, because I'm not anywhere near the athlite or...
They defied logic of what we thought a Jew was.
They were great.
These
were not Jews. these were cyborg Jews.
They were uber Jews.
What they were.
But yeah, I mean...
And they really existed only to make guys like me feel small.
Right.
But we would rise above it, and I, you know, it was a really incredible camp. I mean, one year, the counselor of the cabin above me was Chevy Chase, named Cornelius Chase, long-haired guy. Sam Ramey was in my cabin many, many years. As a kid who grew up in my neighborhood, who we went up to camp together for years.
Right.
Gilda Radner had gone there. She'd stopped the year before I went there. You know, there was a lot of talented people and a lot of. I think it was Sander Levin or Carl Levin, the senator in Michigan, went there. I think both the Levin. But so there was like a lot of really great
rich
people.
History.
Yeah, rich history, and it was great. You know, I did you know, it's funny doing this kind of thing with you. We had a small camp radio station that the guy named David Stringer, the guy that ran it was a guy named David Stringer, and he was this incredible electronics genius. Long before there were geeks and nerds and computer people out in the world, there was this guy in the woods, which was weird. And he had set up a camp radio station, and at lunch hour, he transmitted you could only hear it in the camp. It was such a weak signal, but everyone would go to their cabins and put their radios on and camp radio. And I had a show called, a friend of mine, Dave McBrien, who was one of my counselors, and I wrote and created and performed a show once a week called Captain Camp and His Little Buddy Beaver. And it was a Batman ripoff from the TV series Batman. And it was all about camp jokes and inside things. And that was like my first thing of like writing it and then performing it. I was 9.
Jesus.
You know. And we would make films every year, the camp film. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do by the time I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I remember sitting with my father watching Woody Allen on The Tonight Show and turning around and going, I'm going to do that. Whatever that guy's doing, I'm going to do that. And so...
And what did your dad say?
You know, when you're 11, you just kind of, you know...
Good for you?
Yeah. He was humoring me, you know. He just really wanted me out of the way of the television set. Someone with much more talent talking right now. Okay. Okay. I've had a long day. I don't need another person yapping. But
Why, he wasn't a father during the 60s at all.
No, but you know.
So this
TAMAKWA had a big part of that for me.
It shaped pretty much almost every aspect in terms of, you know, your love of the outdoors, your not just your creative instincts and your creative strengths, but looking up to those guys. I mean, I mention this, of course, for anyone viewing who's not aware of the film we did together that you wrote and directed called Indian Summer. And I will just tell you from my experience of having not had any of this camp experience and the camaraderie that went with it. I had a weekend sleepover camp where it just everyone hated each other and there was no camaraderie and no one wanted to be there kind of thing. So, you know, the script was enough to inform me of what I had heard stories from other friends who did have some sort of camp experience as a part of their youth, and it's usually this annual trip that that the people who lived for it are very passionate about it when they talk about it. So I had a little idea from reading your script, but then when we arrived, I tell the people this story a lot. I mean, you'll clear up the facts, but we arrived pretty much at the end of the summer camp for all the kids that went that year. And we arrive in a situation, and that night, I believe, when we arrived, there was going to be a big Q&A between the cast and the kids who were still there. So I just remember telling people, imagine you've gone to camp that summer, maybe you've been going to the same camp for years and years, and you hear at the end of camp this summer, the guy who used to go here, he's an actor and a comedian, but he's a director, and he makes movies, and he's coming to camp. He's going to make a movie at our camp, and the cast is coming, because that's what it felt like that had been crystal clear and celebrated during camp. So by the time we arrived in boats, the only way to get to this place was in boats, as the cast and you and Sam and, you know, Bill Paxton and Diane Lane and all these wonderful people.
Alan Arkin, Matt
Craven.
Vince Spano,
Michelle
Williams.
Yeah, Michelle Williams.
Julie Warner.
And
Elizabeth Perkins.
And
Don Knotts.
Who no one really understood why he was there, because he wasn't cast, wasn't in the movie at all. But I just remember pulling up on those boats and just these kids standing on the dock, and I think I turned to Spano or somebody and said, they know the Beatles aren't coming. Right?
Yeah, right.
Because it was that sort of celebration for them.
Yeah.
And then when we did the Q&A that night, it was crystal clear. These kids couldn't believe it. You had spent this money out of the budget to refurbish all the cabins, to dress the place up, and for not only the benefit of the movie, but for the benefit of that entire camping area. It was like a makeover.
Well, it was interesting because, and I'm trying to remember because it was a long time ago, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it was.
And I would say that it was a $10 million budget for that movie. Does it sound right, about 10 or 11? Something in that world?
Yeah.
A Disney film back then. And I remember that we had like $700,000 to build things with. And we got up there and I realized, my God, this is not the camp that I remember from when I was a kid. And I was looking at the old movies. We need a big swim tower, and we need, and
You wrote the script with these images in your
in
mind.
my mind, and I was like, I can't do this. This is too. It looks too modern, and those are metal materials. Those all have to be wood. And the production designer, you know, you can hear his testicles clacking. You know, it's just it went on. And Diane Bald, and I got in a boat. I had this little wooden boat that I owned called we call it the Giesler, but it's by a company, handmade company named Giesler up there. These brothers, and we drove up to Camp Amick, which is about 20-minute ride up through the channel, and we looked, and Amick still had the original look. And I said, that's the look right there. We're going to build that. We're going to take TAMAKWA back to where, because Amick had been refurbished over the years with the original look.
Right.
They had
purposely.
So we built a swim tower, and we built railways, and we built a bridge, and we built this stuff.
Yeah.
And the upshot of the story is you can't build those old wood structures half-assed. You have to build them so good. You can't do the movie version of them,
right,
because they won't hold up, and plus you need a big log. You can't fake a big log.
There's no facade.
So
for the
we
tower.
built it right.
Yeah.
And it's still they're all still standing to this day. My kids go to the camp,
right,
and the swim tower and the bridge is still there. But when we went to leave, Disney was like, "So you made all that stuff? We can just tear it down or sell it or something?" No, it's all permanent. And they're like, should have told us. We could have made a deal. We got it.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
The camp has it.
Yeah,
you know?
that was the point I was making,
right.
was that it was necessary for you as a filmmaker. That's the part of the story that you've shared. But I remember the experience of going there and learning that all of this had been refurbished for the movie and to the benefit of the people who thrive in this environment every summer.
And they were very appreciative.
Oh,
the
God.
TAMAKWAns, to this day, people still thank me.
To this day, people thank me.
You know,
honestly,
I mean,
because I get stopped. I swear to you, year in, year out, I get stopped by people who say, the movie had an effect on me, but more importantly, I've been going to camp there since I was this. And
yeah.
yeah.
It was a very tough movie for me to make. It was only my second movie. It was my first movie that I really worked at a studio. The first movie was independent and had been picked up by Disney, so that's how I got the second movie. And it was a very hard movie to make. It was really it was really, I would say, the toughest. Everything else I've done, I just did a pilot for Fox, which was very tough and a pretty bad experience, you know. But every movie I've made, other than Indian Summer, which I'm very happy I made it, and it has a lot of great memories. But every other movie I've made has been a joy.
Right.
That was that was my only really, really tough one.
Yeah. I know, because those of us who knew you, which weren't that many, I mean, other than me and Sam, who'd known you for a long time, involved in the cast. Sam Raimi was cast in the film as well, which he hasn't done often, right? He hasn't
No,
actually
he hasn't
acted,
done a lot of acting.
And he's wonderful in the movie as the,
he really
as the physical comedy. I mean, you knew this side of him clearly, but none of the rest of us did. But I remember talking to him about it, saying something like, there's something going on. This isn't the Mike that I've known for all these years. This is a lot harder on him than I think I even want to know. Let's first of all, could you use some more water?
No.
Are you sure?
I want to. It's a low budget thing, and I don't want to push you guys.
Budget?
No, I'm good.
What is it like to have a budget? You know, you and I share a couple things in common. One of which is that we both knew we wanted to do at 11, and had fathers who said, "Get out of the way of the TV." But you know, I am very, very curious about starting out as a young stand-up as I did, but the decision that I made to focus on auditioning and try to eke out a career as an actor, and versus how you slowly move towards storyteller in a cinematic way, you know, because it's a thing that I cherish most now about stand-up, which is to be a storyteller.
Right.
I mean, I've been a member of the Writers Guild for a couple of decades, and I've had opportunities come and go. So, and I live and breathe in that ambition and that focus and that determination. But I do want, if you can, address the transformation, the initial hardship, like just you know, without getting into all the detail necessary, but at what point do you realize during the writing? I mean, you wrote movies that had been done by other directors, but with the Crossing the Bridge.
No, I've only.
The Joe Roth thing was before Crossing the Bridge, no?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
So you wrote a movie that was
someone else made, yeah.
Right?
One of my scripts.
That's an extraordinary experience in itself.
Yeah.
At what point during the Crossing the Bridge experience of the shooting part, actual principal photography, does it finally click in for you and you say, I think I can do this?
Wait, Joe Roth directed Coupe de Ville.
Right.
And then, so my first movie was Crossing the Bridge.
That you directed.
Right.
Right.
Which was, it was funny, I was just talking to someone about this the other day because I'm going to work with an actor a singer who's never acted.
Mm.
And two of them, a female and a male, and they're both incredibly talented, but neither of them have acted. And we were talking the other day about how they're so scared, and I said, the great thing about movie making is you don't dive into the water. You sit by the side of the pool for days, and then you put your foot in, and then you go home, and you know, for Crossing the Bridge, we had rehearsed, and you hang out, and you're with the DP, and you go to the sets, and you go to location, and you're directing long before the film even is ordered. Right. You know, you're already directing. Stand over here, and everybody knows you're directing, and you're talking to people. And the very first scene I ever directed, because I had never made shorts and never made many. I made a couple of videos. I made a video thing for the Letterman show once as a comedian, but right. I had never directed anything really. A guy had directed that. And the very first scene I ever directed was a scene out in the woods with David Schwimmer. It was one of David Schwimmer's first scenes. It was a scene in Crossing the Bridge, Schwimmer and Stephen Baldwin and Jason Gedrick and Josh Charles in the woods. And it happened to be a day where it was a cloudy day, the light was perfect, it looked great, and halfway through the day, and it happened to be a day I look back and go, why would I think that we would do 8 pages on the first day that I'd ever directed? But halfway through the day, we were halfway through the work, was going great, and I went, I've been directing all day. I didn't even know I was directing.
Right.
It just happened.
Right.
That's the beauty of filmmaking. It takes so long to get going. There's so much gearing up to do. There's so much footwork that by the time you're in the water, you know, you're not even, there's no time to get used to it. You just swim. Right. And that's really the beauty of it. And that was my story. But I will tell you a funny story about that day that I just thought of, that I just remembered. There was a scene, Josh Charles is reading a script that he's writing to his Detroit buddies. He wants to be a TV writer. And he's reading a scene about Mrs. Howell from Gilligan's Island dying. And they go, wait a minute, Mort, Mrs. Howell dies? That's the scene you're sending in as a spec script to try to be a writer on Gilligan's Island? And by the way, Mort, Gilligan's Island is in reruns. They don't make them anymore. Doesn't matter. Let me finish the scene. And it's a dream sequence. She's not really dead. Thanks for giving away the ending. That's the scene in the movie, right? So I shoot that scene first day of my night, and I go back to my hotel in Minneapolis, and it's like in a movie. I turn CNN on, and CNN comes on, and it says, Mrs. Howell, the woman who played Mrs. Howell,
Jesus.
Her name, and there's her picture, has died.
Thank you, Mike Binder.
And she died that day.
You killed
this
her.
Woman, whoever that actress, I'm blanking her name, who played Mrs. Howell on Gilligan's Island. The day she died, there were these kids in Minneapolis filming a movie talking about her character dying.
Yeah.
Which is weird, isn't it?
No, not at all.
And I swear, you talk about needing an Ambien after a night of poker.
Oh my God.
I mean, I just stood up in my bed like this, go, you know.
What have I done?
And it was weird. It was
you didn't know you were Nostradamus.
It was like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And it was very strange.
Oh God. I would like to do something I haven't done on the show before.
You want to kiss me?
Yes. I can't believe you knew that also. This is weird. First you know the old lady's going to croak, and now we're going to make out in front of your son. This is going to get good. What's that?
Bolton, he got bored.
Oh, did he?
I could have told you that was going to happen.
I was going to suggest that as well. No, we only recently, I think I explained this to you, went to one guest and decided with one guest we would still take an intermission for various reasons. And so
I don't want to.
Yeah, I know you don't want to.
I'll be here during the intermission. You go.
Okay.
I will be talking to the viewers,
because
explaining them they have an option.
I have all my guests do something called the Larry King game. You do a bad Larry King impression. You reveal something about yourself on the air as Larry King, as if you're doing the show. And then you go to the phones. And the name of the city you go to, it helps if it's kind of funny sounding. I will give you an example of the whole thing. I can identify any member of the Supreme Court with one lick of the taint. Angel Falls, Maine, you're on.
And that's all the news that we have this evening from Kuala Lumpur. I do want to point out an episiotomy takes longer than you think. Kermit, Arizona.
When I'm alone, I like to snap my suspenders. It gets my nipples hard. Crackatown, Florida, you're on the air.
I'm sitting in my own sauce. Wichita, hello. Wichita? What?
You're watching Larry King. I'm naked, I'm wearing a derby hat, and I'm on the internet. Ding dong, Texas. You're on the air.
Right to it? Again, not pass fail.
I haven't had a full erection since the Eisenhower administration. New Felsport, Connecticut, go.
Way to bring it home.
Thank
Way
you.
to bring it home.
I'm Larry King. Andy Rooney, Wilfred Brimley, and I all share the same cryogenically created torso. We're a human bobblehead. Monkey Brow, Arizona, you're on the air.
That's all it takes.
Yes, I will go on record. Cats have made me sexually aroused since I was 12. Ballsack, New Jersey. You're on with Larry.
I find the human brain much too salty for daily consumption. French Lick, Indiana. Hello.
I figured out a cure for cancer, but I forgot where I wrote it down. Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo? Shit, Kalamazoo. If I'd have said Kalamazoo right.
Every time I say or hear Anderson Cooper's name, a little bit of pee trickles down my leg. Knoblick, Kentucky. Are you there?
Hi, this is Larry King. I occasionally will wear the same underwear for a month, and then he always has that thing with his, let's go to a caller. Pomonis, Alaska.
I like to make figurines out of my poopy. Bump past Virginia. Hello.
Larry King fun fact. My penis has a knuckle. Hohokus, New Jersey, you're on the air.
That's beautiful.
I find on my off time wearing thongs and tight leather pants to be quite relaxing. Bump ass Virginia, you're on.
I gotta get the character. Shut up. You don't need over like Larry King. I like to fuck Jenny Jameson on my wife's coffin. How does that sound to you? Islamabad, you're on the air. Rumpelstiltskin, hello? Is it calling there?
Walla Walla, Washington, you have a question. I have a prostate the size of a small boy's clenched fist. Go.
Official Dr. Khan Larry King game entry. You don't marry 7 different broads and maintain a respect for the vagina. Smiley Bird Kansas, you're on.
Yes, my first guest, Kevin Elliott Pollak. I shave my balls. Kevin, do you shave your balls? Also, Kevin is from Weehawken, New Jersey. Do you shave your balls, Kevin?
I don't know how that. First of all,
I didn't incorporate it. Did I incorporate anything?
If there were a prize, I would be taking it away.
Because of blueness?
Okay, that was a glimpse. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to set that up. In fact, the thanks I gave after the fact to Alex Miller for the work he did while we were in New York helping to make that happen, I want to take those thanks back because he actually cut away to the Larry King game intermission stuff before I had a chance to set it up. Not only as a way to primer my guest so that he can prepare his Larry King game, but to remind you folks at home or wherever it is you're watching this from to send in, please continue to submit your version of the Larry King game to contact@kevinpollakschatshow.com. Shoot it yourself, throw it up there, and we'll throw it up there during our intermission. Okay, so we touch a little bit on jumping right in on directing. You took to it rather easily, wouldn't you say, in terms of your own creative wheelhouse? What I was asking was, at what point did you say to yourself, I can do this? Is it not until you actually finish the first one? I mean, there's maybe a false sense while you're doing it of enthusiasm, of adrenaline. It's actually happening all around you, so there's a sense that you can do it.
You know, I had, as an actor, I had worked with Barry Levinson on the pilot, Diner pilot that he wrote and directed, the pilot based on a movie he wrote and directed. And I was, you know, on the set, I would talk to him a lot about, you know, I have these ideas and there's a story about my family I want to do, and you know, he would say, stand-up's harder. You can do this. Just do it. You know what I mean? And he was a little flippant about it, so I thought, well, yeah, sure, because you can do it. Everybody can do it. And,
right.
But, you know, he was very helpful. And you know, I wanted it so bad. You know, I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be able to tell those stories and make movies and do things like that. And, you know, one of the things that I did very early on, I liked stand-up. Don't get me wrong. I had a good time doing it as a young kid, and I was really, I was like one of the youngest guys ever to do the Tonight Show.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, I got out here by the time I was 18, 19 years old. I was making too much money. You know, I was way away, far from my family and from my friends, and it was fun for me to be a comedian, but I wasn't a natural performer. I'm not like you. I mean, I've always been in awe of you. Sometimes I look at you and I think, God, Kevin was born for show business. He was born to be a performer. He just always has the right thing. I mean, even here, sitting with a buddy and a thing, I'm always just a little uneasy. You know, I'm never really...
Mission accomplished.
You know, and so stand-up, I remember Mitch Ryder of the Detroit Wheels. You remember Mitch Ryder? He came to see me one night at the Comedy Store and he sat in the back. He said, "You're a funny guy, but you're a screenwriter. You're a filmmaker. You're too sensitive to be up on that stage." I went, "Whoa, what does that mean?"
Jesus.
And he said, "You feel it too much. I can see it. You're right." You know, and
wow.
And
you couldn't disagree.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree, and I liked it. But I knew that I wasn't ever going to ring the bell at the fair as a stand-up.
Right.
And I also, because of that, I didn't love the forum that much. So I would make up jokes on stage. I was pretty good at improvising and making stuff up and dealing with the audience. I don't know if you remember. That was something that I did a lot of, you know.
Might have been why you were so great on Make Me Laugh.
You know,
actually.
Yeah. But I wasn't good at sitting down and writing jokes and working on it all day. I remember Seinfeld used to work all day on his act, and Leno used to work on his act, and I just didn't want to work on my act.
Right.
So
I mean, look where it got them.
Yeah, yeah. Where are they now?
Yeah.
But I early on thought, man, when I started writing scripts, I had a great work ethic.
Right.
I could write and rewrite scripts over and over again. And when I finished one, I picked up the next one the next day. And to this day, you know,
you still do that.
I've been writing 30 years.
Right.
I write every day.
Only 4 scripts, by the way.
Yeah,
30 years.
But I always have a script going.
Yeah.
I always have a script going. I write every day, and it's like, I remember a guy who was in really great shape used to tell me he goes to the gym every day because he's afraid to get out of shape. And I thought, that's why I write every day. I'm afraid to lose that discipline.
Right.
But I couldn't get it for stand-up, and I had it for writing very early on. And, you know, listen, you know, to mixed success, whatever, but the one thing about my writing, when I got in a groove, I was selling scripts right away and getting movies made right away, you know, and there was a time I did an HBO special, and I was opening in Vegas for the Pointer Sisters.
I did that show
at Caesar's Palace. Yeah. And I was about to start, I had a movie that was about to go, and I remember saying to my wife, we were just married, and I said, something's got to give. I'm going to be a mediocre comedian and a mediocre screenwriter. I mean, I can't do all these. I can't work at night and work at day, you know. And I thought, you know what? Got an HBO special and I'm in Vegas. I'll quit. And I quit. And honestly, except for maybe a couple benefits for a couple friends, I've never been on stage again.
Yeah.
And I never looked back, you know. And when I was doing it, it's so intoxicating and so addicting, and you're doing it every night. I thought I would miss it, and I thought I was going to miss that. And Leno used to, don't give up your act, Binder. I don't know what you're doing. You got to, Binder, what are you doing? Get your act. Never give up your act. Your act wasn't that good, but you still don't give up an act.
Right.
And I did. I gave up my act, and you know, I've never ever missed it. So that tells you something.
Well, it tells me that you chose the thing you love the most, and as it turns out, you chose wisely. I want to show a clip from a movie of yours that you wrote and directed that, for a lot of us who've been in your corner for many years, was just maybe the most gargantuan turn in terms of the evolution of a filmmaker, in terms of not stepping up a game, the maturity, the real evolution of the type of filmmaker that you have and have had for quite a while, the potential to be, and then sort of living up to that potential for a lot, and then surprising and shocking a lot of people who had no idea that you had this in you. But for a lot of people who've been watching you evolve as a filmmaker, this film was not as shocking as much as it was not a relief, but a sense of now he's doing exactly what he's capable of and should be doing. It's a revelation for those of us who see it and know you, but at the same time, there was a sense of this is what Mike has been capable of for a while. It's called The Upside of Anger. Let's show just a moment of it, and then we'll talk about it. Clip, right? That would have been good to have here if we had the. Couldn't clear it. Okay, couple things. Who needs therapy? Forget about the undertones of casting yourself in a part that is filled with self-loathing. Let's talk about first several things really I want to get to. One of which, don't let me forget, is the sort of stick-to-itiveness when you write something like that in a script, that sort of dream sequence, fantasy sequence, what have you, and something like that in terms of the production of a film, how easy it is for some line producer to say, is there any way we could not spend a day putting blood everywhere and destroying this set and having actors change wardrobe and makeup every take? And the stick-to-itiveness of this is as powerful as we just saw. But first, to land, speaking of landing whales, as I did earlier about my guests, Joan Allen, if I'm not mistaken, went on to get nominated for an Academy Award?
No, she didn't for this one. She got nominated for a lot of Guild Awards and awards and stuff.
I knew there were some nominations that came her way from this. Okay, so, and she's a type of actress that pretty much when she steps up to the plate the last 15 years or so, she gets nominated for something almost every time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
she's pretty incredible.
She absolutely is. Almost to the point where my first question is, how much directing goes on when you have a Hall of Famer like that step up to the plate for you?
That particular movie, not a lot, because I wrote it for her. I was acting in a movie with her, And we were on the set every day because I played her chief of staff, and there were a lot of... Gary Oldman was this adversarial congressman, the contender.
Right. Actually, Roland, she was nominated for an Oscar.
Yes, she was nominated for an Oscar. And Gary would have these long speeches, and the director, Rod Lurie, would shoot like 1,000 takes on Gary, and then Joan and I would go, yeah, okay, we gotta go, we gotta wrap. But so we'd sit there for a lot of days, just kind of, and we got to know each other really well, and it was great. And one day she came into work, she goes, I saw The Sex Monster on HBO last night, and I loved it. Will you write a comedy for me? And I said, don't say that, because I will leave here and I'll start writing.
Right.
And so I wrote it for her. Yeah. And I wrote it, it was one of those things, in the same way that Rod wrote The Contender for her, it was really like trying to let her use every tool in the box that she had. Right. So it was so vacuum formed for her, and we talked about it so much at every draft. Right. That, you know, the biggest directing things that I would do in that movie, looking back, is how she looked. Right. I was really in her face a lot about her hair, and I wanted her to look hot. I just wanted her to be really fuckable, you know, and I really wanted, you know, just to go, oh man, Joan Allen. And I don't know, she might say this isn't the way it was. I think she was afraid of that. I think she was afraid to look as good as she could look, because she's a great looking lady, but I think that sometimes actresses want to hide and saw the character not as together as I did, because I liked the idea that on the outside she was together, and the inside she was bad jello, you know. And
well, she's one of those rare actresses or actors who rise to a level of respect and accomplishment that she has, especially for women, without any of it depending on how good looking she actually is.
Right, but I wanted this to be about that. I wanted this to be that Kevin Costner really wanted to jump her bones, and you know, and
yeah, you should make that clear, by the way, for the people watching, that you didn't just want her to be fuckable. It was for the context of the story.
That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah, no, that's what. Yeah.
You didn't just want your lead actress to look hot in the movie.
No,
it had everything to do with the story.
I wanted, you know, she was this bitter, twisted woman. He'd come over through the backyards and drink beer with her, and, you know, you want to go believe that after 3 or 4 days, he goes, hey, I'm going to get her upstairs, you know?
Right.
And if you don't have a movie.
Right.
So we would tussle around about the look a little bit, because she wanted curly hair and I wanted straight hair, and she wanted these clothes and I wanted this. Once we started shooting, you know, Joni is, I could just kiss her, you know. She's so much fun to be around. She's such a hard worker. And these young girls all idolize her. So they're on the set every day. They can't believe they're working with Joan Allen, you know. And I can't believe I'm working with Kevin Costner. I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, you know. I mean, Field of Dreams is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I just, Bull Durham and Dance with Wolves, I just loved Kevin, you know. And it's funny, because I met Kevin the first time he walked up to me at a restaurant, and then I was with you. You did a movie with him.
Right.
The Grace
3,000 Miles of Graceland.
And I went with you to the premiere. Do you remember this?
I do.
And we were there, and Kevin gave me his phone number. Said, call me.
I do remember that, because I didn't have his phone number at that point.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to call Kevin Costner about, you know. I mean, it was so sweet of him.
Right.
But I never called him until, you know, I mean, just because it'd be like, you said to call.
Right.
Can we come over and look at some of your cowboy ads? What do you say?
Yeah.
You know?
So then speak a little bit to the commitment as a filmmaker, because a lot of, I've had, well, an Academy Award-winning screenwriter and a director on one film, and then a writer-director, Chris McQuarrie, George Gallo. And what happens is the people who watch, who are focused in their own way, in their own lives, and their own determination and ambition to be a writer or be a writer-director, I hear from these people endlessly about how much those interviews meant to them. So speak just a little bit about the commitment that it takes to actually follow through with a scene like that, because I know very little, but what I do know is production-wise, there are meetings and there are people in meetings saying, do you really need this scene?
Well, not only that, I didn't have that because I make movies so independently, and they're my movies, and
right.
You know, my brother line produced that movie, and you know,
as he has for a lot of years.
Yeah, and he, you know, Alex Gardner was the producer too, and the question always was, do you really need it? It's kind of like, even finished, a lot of people said that scene kind of didn't fit the rest of the movie. You know,
you slipped farce into a movie that's grounded
I
in
didn't
reality.
care. I knew it was going to be a great scene, and from the very first screening, people loved it, and it really, you know, the only people that ever felt that it was stepped out of the movie were the people that didn't understand the movie. Because when you understand the rage that's going on all day, every day in this woman's mind,
right,
you understand that she wants to do that to everybody.
Right.
So especially a guy that comes around, you know, just a total, you know, freak who is putting his thing in her daughter,
right.
you know,
right.
she would want to kill him. And, you know, what would have been one step too far is if she really did. But so that was the only thing, is people go, you know, do you really need this? And I remember, it's funny, when we were doing Indian Summer, there was this shot that I wanted that was in the script. And that the problem with writing, when you write, the great thing about writing and directing is when it's in your head, you know it and you see it, sometimes you can never show it until you show it.
Right.
And there was a scene where you guys are all in the water, and Arkin and Sam Raimi are timing you for a swimming test, and you look up, your character looks up and goes, oh my God, look at Stick, the character Sam Raimi plays. If you squint your eyes and you get him behind the sun, it looks like he's in The Deer Hunter.
Right.
Right? Yes. And
it's like an Asian guy.
And then all of a sudden, we melted to, instead of just a hat and a stick, he had a gun, and it worked. Do you remember this scene?
Of course I do.
That was another one. Everyone kept saying, this won't work. Why?
What are you even talking about?
Why does this, no one got it.
Right.
And then the first screening, everyone, okay. So it's one of those things that it's in your head. And
maybe you just need to learn how to write a little better, Mike.
Yeah, I think
you just need to explain.
Descriptive.
Explain. Yeah, seriously, your stage direction stinks.
Yeah.
I want to.
You're not far off.
I never want to make the mistake of discluding my audience from this show, and I know we got some interesting questions from the audience, and one of the things is the live questions. And this particular question I remembered, and thank you, Jamie, for forwarding it, because I saw a whole bunch of questions, and it's the one that's highlighted now, and it has everything to do with what we're discussing. At Kelly Sales 509 on your Twitter asks, took a lot of balls to tackle a movie about 5 women dealing with men and each other. What made you think you could do it as well as you did? And we've talked about this sense that you have about I've got a story to tell, I have to write, all these things, I know I can do this, I've done it. And one of the ways that people who knew you as a filmmaker felt as though you had stepped up your game and got to a place of maturity as a storyteller was because you tackled something that did not seem like it was in your wheelhouse. You've got a wife, you've got a daughter, you've got a mother, but where in you, other than wanting to write a movie for Joan Allen, was that just the genesis? I'm just going to write a movie for her? And
No.
Did you have a bit of the story already in mind?
No, I had always kind of, I'd spent a lot of time dealing with lust.
Okay.
You know, and I'd done The Sex Monster, and I always kind of start on a basic emotion. And then I had done 2 years on Mind of the Married Man and Commitment in Men, and I felt like, you know, women didn't get, a lot of women just didn't get that show. And then there were a lot of men that didn't get it because they're so concerned with what women think. You know, when I would read men review that show, I would just laugh. I'd say, just spend a day with me and see guys. I'd go out running, guys would pull over their cars and go, hey, knock it off. You're fucking my marriage up. We fight about that show. You know, it was all day, every day on the street. Hey, man, you're giving away the secrets. Or, hey, man, that's so real.
Right.
And then I'd read male reviewers say, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. You know, I knew I was pushing a button.
Right.
And I knew I was telling the truth on some level, whether some things we did weren't so funny, some things weren't.
That's all subjective.
I knew that the core of the show was about something very real, so I never had trouble writing it. But it was so male, and it was so that I really had said to myself in Chicago, and I even write when I'm shooting. Just so you know, I mean, I was staying at the Peninsula Hotel, and I said, I got to start a new script, and I want to write something completely female. You know, I just want to write about women. Because I know a lot of women. I've been married a long time. I'm a woman's son. You know, I have a stepmother. I have stepsisters. I have daughter. I mean, I know women, and they're very. I thought I could add something to this, and it's a good challenge. So the combination of having worked with Joan and said I was going to write something for Joan, and also
the timing.
The other thing was that I wanted to write about anger,
right?
Because I was coming from what was, you know, I was tired of lust, and the other big one for me is anger. I'm angry. I'm an angry dude, you know, inside, just like she is about a lot of things, like we all are. And I thought, you know, okay, I'm going to write about anger. And one of the things that I think about anger is that most of it's misplaced.
Sure.
You know, when, and I won't get into politics because I'm not a political guy. And anyway, I'm just not a political guy. But when the Bush administration invaded Iraq, and so many of my good friends were so mad and so upset, and just dinner parties were about, I hate them and this and that. And I just always think, what if you're wrong? Just what? What if you cut to 20 years later and it was the best? What if?
Right.
And all this hate. And that was happening kind of around that time, you know.
Sure.
And a lot of big political people that I know that I really respect and love get so wrapped up in the politics. And one of the reasons I don't is because I don't have all the answers, and I don't know for sure. So I don't want to spend too many years, you know, frothing at the mouth, upset about anything
that
I'm not in control of.
Right. No, of course.
And I thought that's an interesting take on anger. Someone so dead wrong. So it turned into a fable for me about a woman who was absolutely bone marrow, livid angry about something she was dead wrong about. And it came back, oh, this is the thing I'll do for Joan. I'll make it about, instead of boys, I'll make it all girls because it's a challenge for me. And, you know, the script wrote itself. The script wrote itself, and you know.
Now, when you say that, because a lot of us here, writers that we
I'm just going to drop a really big name.
Okay.
No,
Spielberg? No. No, but I want you to finish that. I do, but you hit on something that we hear a lot, which is the script wrote itself. And if you could just, for a moment, and then we'll get back to the Spielberg reading the script, I'm sure, because I remember that conversation actually that you shared with me, and it's, please share it. What actually happens? What happens? Are you getting into a zone? Are you literally getting to a place where you can't believe you're writing suddenly 12 pages where you normally write 5 pages? What does that really mean, the script is writing it? It's just, you can't stop it, it's just flowing out?
Yeah, that's one aspect. You're getting a lot done in a day.
Right.
But the real thing is you're feeling you're telling the truth, that the lines of dialogue really are resonating and leading one to the next, and it doesn't feel like patter, and it doesn't feel like you know, cable, you know, and oh my God, that scene feels like there's some truth to that, and it's leading me to the next one, and these people feel like they're up here in my head and they're real. and you go, at the end of the day, you go, oh, I can't wait to get back and have those people start talking again.
Right.
As opposed to, I can't wait to figure out how to see if there's any funny other things that I could add or get to the end of the second act so I can get into the big chase scene, you know?
Right.
And,
okay.
like I said, you know, people started reading the script. I mean, I sent it to Steven Spielberg. Had been working on a movie with him as an actor, and I asked if he would read it, and he said he would read it, and he's a man of his word. And I was going up to Camp TAMAKWA, actually. I was taking my kids up to Camp TAMAKWA, and they were in the back of the car, and Steven called, and you know, you get at a certain point, you get too close to camp, you don't get cell coverage. So I was like, and he stayed on the phone with me for an hour. He loved the script, knew every character. I couldn't believe how well he knew. His mind is so disciplined, such a good reader. And he said, so did you write this for me to direct?
Oh, Jesus.
And I said, no, I'm going to direct it. And, oh, okay. I was thinking maybe you wrote it for me to direct. And I said, no.
Is there not one little tiny part of you that says let it go?
No,
but I know you're resolved that you wrote this.
I mean,
very
don't get me wrong. He wasn't going, well, Mike, I want to direct this. He wanted me. He was asking for a compliment, or he was asking for, I don't know what he was. He was assuming people sent it to them,
right,
to him for him to direct. Sure. And I said, no, I want to direct it, but you can have your studio make it if you want. Yeah. You know, and you know. And we went to dance on it, and they ended up not making it. I made it independently,
right.
But that was just one of the things. I just kept getting people to read it, and they kept going, "This is great." And a lot of big actresses read it and said, "Can I do that?" Or their agents would call and say, "Can so and so do that role?" And I said, "Well, I wrote it for Joan," you know. And so I knew that I had something there.
That's awesome, man. So that's how he knew he had the balls to do it. All right. Spielberg called him on his way to TAMAKWA and told him he had the balls.
It was the funniest thing though, because he called and he's such a great guy, and he talked. When you do get him on the phone, he likes to talk, and you can keep him on the phone for a while, and I'm like, if we talk too long, I got to pull over. So finally, I pull over. And my kids are going, "Dad, what are you doing?" I go, "It's Spielberg," and they're like,
"Shut your face, it's Spielberg."
No, they're like,
yeah, we don't care. We're so close to camp. Yeah,
you know, Spielberg.
Right.
My son, I have a great story. My son was making movies in the yard with some of his buddies in the neighborhood. And they wrote a little movie, and he says to me, I think at the time he was about 9 years old, and he says, "Dad, we wrote a movie, and we were wondering, would you direct it?"
Oh my God!
And I was really touched.
Please.
Yeah, of course I'll direct it. I would love to. About a week later, at the time I was writing a script for Steven, and he had heard my wife and I talking about it. I was over at Spielberg's office all day, and he's at dinner real quiet, and he goes, "Dad, you know that movie I told you we wrote?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You think you could ask Spielberg if he would direct it?" And I said, "I thought I was going to direct that." And he said, "Yeah, but if we could get Spielberg."
Oh my God. At that point, you yank him out of Los Angeles, you move to Portland.
I said, "Son, you are going to do so well in this business. If you can blow your old man off for Spielberg, it's all it's going to take."
And that's the example you set, Mike. That's fantastic. Wow, we got some pretty great stuff here, Mike. I hate to dominate when I have at Kathleen Leary, a question asked, "Do you make changes to the characters? Did you make changes to the characters in Reign Over Me after they were cast? Is that something you wrote for Adam Sandler? Or is that
no, I wrote it for Tom Cruise, actually. Remember that? I mean, it was going to be Tom Cruise and Javier Bardem.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so originally the story was, and Bardem was a Spanish guy, and his parents moved here from Spain, and he had gone to dental school with this guy, and they didn't really understand the wound of 9/11, the family, and there was a lot of other implications. I mean, they did, but they didn't. And
right.
And I had gone back and forth with Javier, and I was in London with him, and reading all the different drafts, and he fell out of the movie. First Tom didn't want to do it, but Javier was in. It's funny at the time he didn't mind it not being Tom Cruise. He was like, just as long as it's another really good actor. And we're in my office, and he's I got all the DVDs in my office, and he goes over. This is how Sandler got in the movie. He goes over, takes Punch Drunk Love, and he goes, "Who is this? This is a brilliant actor." I said, "That's Adam Sandler." "Oh, yes, who is he? I don't know. He's a brilliant actor."
Because he'd seen Punch Drunk
Love and nothing else.
Oh my God. Doesn't that put a little perspective on things?
I said, "Really? That's a great idea, Javier. That's a great." I said, "I know him. He's a friend of mine. I didn't know him well, but I've known him over the years. But, he's an American comedian. He's known for some big, goofy comedies." "No, this is a brilliant actor. This is the man who should play this role."
Jesus.
So that's how I called Sandler and sent him the script. I got it, Adam Vennett sent him the script.
And then Javier said, "I was kidding. I don't want to be in the film."
"Not with the goofy boy."
Not with this goof. I saw
I saw the Water Boy, and I don't understand.
I don't understand
what this boy's doing.
Why is he talking like that?
No, he actually was going to go make a movie with Robin Wright. And so Sandler, so I get Sandler, and Sandler, I said, "Can we wait?" And Sandler goes, "Binder, no, I got a window." And what was an independent movie was now a Sony movie, and so we ended up having to settle with Don Cheadle.
The brilliant Don Cheadle.
But that was a big rewrite, and it was a problem because it was never completely able to scratch Don's back because there was so much more to the original way that it was written.
But Spanish family and coming over,
it was
not
more
understanding.
There was another element to the whole story that it kind of drove Don a little crazy. But it's a good question.
It's a solid as hell question. Do you feel like we've been chatting for an hour?
No, we're doing great, right?
I'm just asking what it feels like.
It feels like about 10 minutes.
Okay, good.
I mean,
because I only need one more hour from you.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Listen, I got to say, I'm just so happy to be here. Jeremy Rausch, who works. I have an internet site, and he edited Reign Over Me. He's a computer genius / freak / geek. Turned me on to your show, and I thought, oh man, this is so great. I'm so proud of it. It's so perfect, and I myself like to really lean into the wind of the future and technology, and I always think about what I'm going to be doing the next 20 years, let alone what my son and my daughter are going to be doing. And
right. Which is actually what I wanted to talk about next.
And I loved your show, the fact that you were doing it. I thought, man, I wish you'd asked me to do that show. Just because it's you.
Right.
And you called, and I don't know if you remember this, but you sent me a text, and I sent you back like 30 seconds later. I've been waiting for you to ask me.
And I thought you were kidding.
But I'm going to London.
Right.
No, I wasn't kidding at all. You better have asked me. I'm so glad, but I can't right now. But as soon as I get back, and then you didn't call, and I thought, oh man, damn him! I blew one shot. But no, I'm really proud of you, and I like the show, and I feel you're so good at it. I mean, again, I'm not a good guest. I like being on Charlie Rose. He's the show that I like to be on. The talk shows I just gave up on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too, to a certain degree.
I gave up on years. I like Conan, but it's not my world. It's not. But already, I mean, I'm so comfortable here talking to you, and that's because of you. And I can see your other guests, and I'm so glad you're doing this, and I really feel like, in so many levels, it's so smart for you to be doing this.
Well, stop it already. You're only here because I couldn't get Javier.
Yeah, that's true.
No, you're very sweet. And Nia Vardalos has written a question for you from Twitter.
Wow.
This is live, baby.
Wow.
Actually came in 2.5 minutes ago. At Nia Vardalos asks Mike, she just directed a movie, and she had to be in it for financing purposes. Felt like jumping into an orgy while still shaving her legs.
That's funny. So that's the real Nia Vardalos?
Yeah. No,
that's great.
This is all actually happening.
Oh,
and she wants to know, for you,
And how do you know that's really her?
Because we follow her on Twitter.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I know that that's her Twitter account.
I got it.
But you're right to question that. So what is that like for you in terms of putting yourself in a film because I know sometimes you've sent me a script and I thought, that's a great part, that's the part I should do, and you said, yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah. No, I like it. You know, I don't like acting anymore in other people's movies. I just went and did this movie that was with an incredible cast and incredible director, and I just didn't have fun, you know, and
Is the matter too easy?
No, it's just too much time. And, you know, when I'm directing and I'm making a movie, and I'm sure Nia gets this exact same thing, and I'm on the movie, I'm looking at my watch going, it can't be 5 o'clock.
Right.
It can't be. We just got here.
Right.
And when I'm acting, I'm going, is it still 10 to 2? How could it still be 10 to 2?
It's the most boring job.
You know, and I don't like that in my life. I like when my life goes fast, and it was interesting though, because I acted. You know, I got this call to go and do a movie with Rebecca Miller was directing. It's a movie coming out called The Private Lives of Pippa Lee.
With Robin Wright.
With Robin Wright
and Sean Penn.
No, Sean's not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
No, he was there a lot, but he's not in the movie. You know,
Robin Wright.
Juliana Moore, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Alan Arkin.
Couldn't get anybody.
And Alan, you know, we had done Indian Summer, and Alan and I really were at loggerheads, you know, and didn't like each other. And we had just done a movie the year before where we loved each other, but I was only the writer on that one. And so Rebecca calls me and says, do you want to do this? And says, yeah. And I read it, and I go, all my scenes are with Alan Arkin. I play his buddy in it, and I don't know if you should run it by him, because I don't think he likes me, and I don't know if I like him, but, you know. And
I understand why you would say that, by the way. It's very strange. All right, sorry, go ahead.
The funny thing is, and it was just such a beautiful experience, because we got along so well, and he was such a great guy, and just such a great guy. I just ended up, and it wasn't a great experience for me in the movie, even though they were all wonderful people and everything.
As an actor, as a creative person, and as an
actor, I said, okay, this is it. This is not what I want to do with my life. But it was also a tough time in my life. But working with Alan was so worth it. And I get a call I think about a month ago. I'm at the office, and my assistant says, Alan Arkin's on the phone. And I go, that's Kevin Pollak. Because you famously have done that impression, and he, sure enough, the phone picked up. Mike, it's Alan. I go, hey, Kevin, how are you?
You didn't.
Mike, it's Alan. I go, is it really you? Why wouldn't it be me? Why would it not be me? I go, because you know Pollak calls me as you a lot. He goes, no, it's me, and I love you. I wanted to say, hey, I saw the movie. You were great, and it was great. You know, it was just so great because in all my years making movies, I've only had a problem with one actor.
I remember.
And that hurt me, because I love actors.
Right.
And to be able to go back and clean that up and be with him and learn from him, he was such a great guy. But what I've learned is, and I said this, Alan, you love actors, you don't like directors. Huh? Who said I don't like directors? And I was writing a script with Owen Wilson in Miami when they were doing Marley and Me, and Owen said something to me that was so funny, and it's so true, and I called him. He said, you have selective hearing. He'd say, on Marley and Me, he'd say, the director would go, Alan, can you go to the left there and maybe say that little, what did he say? I can't hear a word. I'm an old man, I can't hear it. After the same next take, Alan, that was great. It was great, thank you. The guy can hear a compliment from a football field away. And so I would say to Alan on the set, I said, you just don't like to be directed as an actor.
Right.
And he, no. But we really, it was really nice to get along so well with him, and to really be able to sit with him and talk about life. And I mean, he really has a great take on life, Alan, and it was really so healing for me, you know.
Yeah, no, he's got Yoda in him. There's no
he
question
really
about
does.
It. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Well, that's one of the ridiculous things that trickles down from a career or a creative endeavor is a human experience like that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
just a final thing on what she was saying.
Yeah.
What Nia was asking, because I'm sure it was good. When we were doing stand-up, that was the whole show, and I don't know. Did she start as a stand-up?
No.
No. But
Yeah, no, yeah, she came from improv.
But you know, I'm just comfortable putting on the whole show. I like acting in my movies. You know, I'm getting ready to do this movie, which is kind of the inverse of The Upside of Anger, which is a father and 4 sons, and there's this crazy character that I wrote for myself that I, for a while, wasn't going to do. But I like it. I like it, but that's really not acting.
Right.
That's not acting because that's just
well, it's not
throw another hat on.
It's not the boring side of acting, because you're not sitting in your trailer on that movie.
Right.
You're doing everything else
right,
that the
right.
director's doing.
But it also,
but I mean, that might inform as to why you like it.
Well, but it also, because the question she was asking, the real answer is, it's just another level of fear that keeps you on your toes. Do you know what I mean? Where if you're just writing and directing and everyone take care of it, but if you also got to figure out a performance and keep on your toes for that, you really are on your toes.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's cool. And there you go, Nia. I hope that at least shuts you up for the next 20 minutes or so.
I actually know the editor, her editor on the movie that I think she's talking about is the same guy that edited Reign Over Me and The Upside of Anger.
Oh, that's nice.
Steve Edwards, really good editor.
Now, you know, you mentioned these things in passing. I'm in Miami working on this movie that I'm writing with Owen and this, that, and it also reminds me that one of the reasons I got into this, you know, I stumbled across this sort of phrase or saying, if you're not creating, you're waiting.
Yeah.
And the notion,
I like that.
the notion was, you know, for performers, it's a lot about waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And throughout my career, people have said, you know, you've diversified, you're doing this, you're doing that. The writing for you is also, it's not just that I need to write every day to keep the muscle strong and to keep, you know, that part of my career alive. It's something you need to do also. But in terms of reaching out to other writers, to other performers, the experience between writing alone versus writing with someone else.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that for just a couple?
Well, I basically write alone. Even like I said, I've actually worked on 2 projects with Owen, which both are sitting on a shelf somewhere, you know, waiting for him to come off the beach. You know, but that's writing alone. You know, I mean, we worked on the story and hammered it out, and you know, when I actually go in to write, I'm pretty much writing through my fingers. I'm not a real talking it out guy. Those particular ones were a lot of throwing ideas back and forth. Let me come back. Let me show you a new version. Let me, you know, that's a project called Frick and Frack that we've been working on forever. You know, and you know. The thing that I like you're saying, you know, if you're not, you know, if you're not creating, you're waiting, you know, and I always have something going on.
Yeah.
And I've also, as I've gotten older, and it's not just about getting a movie made. You want to make a good movie, and you want to, you know, how hard a slog it is, and it's a full year, and there's a couple projects that I were, you know, right now I'm waiting for one actor, a movie star, to say yes on one movie, and another movie I just only want to do it a certain way with these young unknown singers, and you know, and you know, everything has a different challenge. And I can't rush either of them. They have to happen when they're going to happen. So I have to keep myself busy, and that's what, you know, I've been working on this jokeyphone.com that I put together with some friends and my partner Eric Gordon, and I, you know,
and suddenly you find all your focus is on this.
Well, I like to keep a lot of things going. You know, like I say, you know, I wrote a movie for Kevin James. There's a movie right now that I would love to do with Ashton Kutcher, you know, and I have to be that way at this point in my life because I don't want to just make a movie. I only want to make a movie that I go, okay, this is going to be great, a great experience, or it's going to take the ball further down the field for me, creatively and spiritually and emotionally and everything.
Right.
And you have to be willing to wait.
Right.
You have to be willing to go, okay, let me just keep it on the shelf when the actor's ready, or when the time is right, or when the political climate gets right. You know what I mean? And you can't do that unless you have a lot of other things going.
Sure.
Because then I have to make this movie, or else you sit around the house doing nothing.
And there's most.
So I like to have a lot going on, and I like to really care about my movies, but I don't like to care anymore about when I make them.
Right. Well, that's a watershed lifetime moment when you get to that place.
Yeah.
And congratulations for reaching it, actually, because not many do. Most do struggle with the, I've just got to the point where I can make this movie, so everyone needs to stop what the fuck they're doing so I can make my movie. And
I was at that. I was at that point where I'm shooting in June, and we'll take the best guy we can get.
Right.
And you know what?
It doesn't work so well.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm not willing to gamble the time periods of my life away by doing that. I want
by taking the best.
I want to work with people that I think are the absolute best people for the role.
Explains why we've not worked together since
Yeah,
Indian
it's
Summer.
Amazing, isn't it?
No, I just never knew why. Now I do. All right, now
we actually have
on Sex Monster.
Yeah, you came in for a day for me.
That was just a favor.
That was a funny scene too.
Yes, it was.
You were so
well
funny
because I got to shove something up your ass, right?
Yeah.
Let's just put this under favors not repaid.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, now.
What do you think I'm doing here?
Let me.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
All right, where are you? We're at the point where we need to talk about jokeyphone.com, because this is a new venture for you in this world that belongs to them, that is viral. You've had a soft opening of this website, and it's already exploded. Mashable.com, I can only assume, has been helpful.
Yeah, they were great.
Truly, in terms of things taking off.
We've been up 14 days, 15 days. We've told 280,000 jokes.
Right. Now explain what that means. We've told 285,000
Here's
jokes.
the thing. My father told great jokes.
And you don't remember any of them?
I can't remember a joke. I have two at a time, and they're gone out of my cannon.
Same here.
But my father, with any conversation, that reminds me of the nurse that goes outside. And I go, Dad, it fit in so beautifully, the way Carson used to. So I would call my dad. Every time I heard a good joke, I'd call my dad. And when my dad died last year, and I thought, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about jokes and why I love jokes so much, and how jokes have kind of gone out of vogue. And I thought about how people text the written joke out. I thought, why do they do that? In today's age, why doesn't someone send, if Kevin Pollak wants to send me a funny joke, why would he send it written? Why wouldn't he send it to me in a video and I'd watch it? So I thought about this website where there would be a viewer, and I would send you a joke, and you would see in your email a picture of me, and instead of saying, here's a good joke, it's a picture of me, you'd open it, you'd go, and I'd tell you the joke.
It's you sitting in front of the laptop computer with the camera built in, and you just, that simple.
I tell you the joke.
Right.
And at the end I said, do you want to pass this on, or do you want to tell it better? You could probably tell this better. And then you hit your thing, and the script of the joke is in there in a teleprompter, and it goes up as you're talking. You're like Obama there with the teleprompter, right?
Karaoke.
Yeah, or karaoke, yeah. And you tell the joke, and you send it on. And I just got into this thing to the point where I realized the joke is a wonderful piece of culture.
Yeah.
And it's really, we were talking about, it is the lowest threshold of entertainment. You know, you can tell a joke, and then the next thing you learn to do good is play the Jew's harp. You know, really, that's the easiest way to get in to the, hey, I got some talent, which is telling the joke.
I tell you, I've always felt like the American, or if it is global.
It is global, I've found, yeah.
Well, you'll speak to that. The human interest in telling a joke and sharing a joke has belittled, without meaning to, the art form of stand-up comedy, in so much as everyone can kind of tell a joke. And there are a lot of people who enjoy telling jokes, love telling jokes, who have no interest in being a stand-up comedian. Dentistry, on the other hand, is not something everyone dabbles in.
See, I would say the other thing, my friend.
What's that?
I would say that stand-up comedy belittled the art of the joke telling, because joke telling was around long before stand-up comics. And the original stand-up comics were just guys standing on stage telling jokes. Just with instead of you telling a couple guys at a deli counter jokes, now you got 20 guys in a nightclub.
Right.
And and actually the original Borscht Belt comics were telling jokes.
Right.
And jokes have been around a long time.
Oh, no, I didn't mean which came first. I meant the sense that it belongs to everyone. Joke telling belongs to everyone.
That's good.
Oh, sure.
What happened to joke telling, and this is why I really got into this, and boy, I put way too much time and energy into this thing. But
The
I
research.
love it. No, the whole joke, it's to start an internet site and an internet company, and you know, it's like, but I love it.
Right.
But when I had this thought about what a great joke site should be, I thought I'll just go find it. It's there. And I went to all over the world, even Comedy Central. You look at their website and it's just text jokes. They have comedians doing their monologues, but the jokes are written out. Nobody was doing it. I thought, I'm going to just do this and do it right. And just do it right. And my goal already, I have to say, and I say it with complete confidence, we're already the best joke site on the planet because no one's doing what we're doing.
Right.
But I want to just make it better and better and better and better. And that, you know, my partner who's got a lot of money in this goes, "What's the business plan?" And I go, "Excellence." Excellence is the business plan. You know, make it fun to tell jokes again, because the reason jokes, little kids still love jokes, knock-knocks and riddles. Adults love jokes. You know, my kids 16 to 25, they don't love jokes so much. They're not hip. They're not. It didn't come into the new century because there's no new technological side to it.
Right.
There was no way to make it a social kind of thing.
Right.
So
there were no games involved.
We've brought it back, and we are, you know, we're still working on it. We're not going to really launch till November. It's up there now to play with, but we're adding some amazing things this summer. And the idea is that you could actually have your own joke page and your 20 jokes you tell and the 20 best jokes you like and a little bit about you, and then attach that to your Facebook and your MySpace and your dating page and your LinkedIn page. And it really, a salesman or a single guy or a single woman or a young kid, this tells you a little bit who I am because it shows you who my sense of humor is. And I can go on this site and all the material's there. And
we've tapped into something pretty important there, and because I've always felt that we gather our loved ones, our best friends, and our family because we have a shared sense of humor.
Right.
In terms of who we choose to be inside our walls.
Absolutely, you know.
It always comes down to a shared sense of humor.
Absolutely, you know. One of the reasons I have always loved you is because you can make me laugh. You know,
at some point.
You can always make me laugh.
Right.
You know, and I think that, I don't think that jokes belittle this professionals. I think real people, everybody, salesmen, teachers, you know, mothers, people need to have a good canon of jokes. Because it's a good social lubricant, rather than sitting around being negative or talking politics or, you know, hey, did you hear this new one about, you know, and this is, and by the way, it's an iPhone app and it's a BlackBerry app, and so you can go, hey, here's a funny joke, you know, and they're quick and jokes are fast, and some of them are old-fashioned, some of them are fresh. I just love them, and getting into it, I've heard so many great jokes, and I've really, I mean, now I'm so deep in this thing. I'm going to develop a television show based on it about the joke,
right?
And I'm really excited about that. So
you'll come back and tell us more about that when it's further down the line.
No, this was a one-time only thing. I really, you know,
it's just the one favor.
This was, you know, what I'm going to do is try to get into the World Series of Poker. See if I could come and talk to you about that. Honestly.
So even though it's a soft opening, the site is up, and if people want to participate and have fun with the current version, which is just a startup version, basically you go on there and you look at some existing jokes, and then you have an opportunity to tell the joke yourself, or just share that joke with somebody else by emailing it.
You can add it, you can email it, or you can add it your own joke, and you know, it's...
everyone can play.
Everyone can play. There's some guys are doing... 2 guys will tell a joke, 1 guy will tell the setup, another guy will tell the punchline. And last night, some guys put some really funny stuff on that really made me laugh. Because they did it very creatively, you know. And
well, so that's just it. Once you've decided, here's a way to shoot a video of yourself and post it on this site, it's going to take on every incarnation of an actual joke. It's not going to be just the guy walks into a bar and says.
There's a guy who told this joke. It's a really cute little joke. The difference between a tire and 365 used condoms.
I'm sorry, what would that be?
One's a good year and one's a great year.
Now let me just say.
Okay. He told that joke, which is a good joke. Right. Come on, it's a good. But he told it and he had music kick on at the end.
Well, and
it was great.
It's all about the performance.
Smile. It was just a big smile. I loved it, and you know, and we're going to be able to let you add music and a laugh track and do a lot of fun things. Curtains drop, potatoes hit, you know, or anything you want to. And the video player is embeddable, so you can put it on your site. If you know, it's just. The idea is just pass these jokes around the world, man. Let's get these jokes going again, and let's get telling jokes again. And the other thing that I love about jokes, which is to me the great question, where do they come from?
I remember people insisting that they all actually start in prison because they have nothing but time on their hands, and there's enough guys in that are just literally for decades, if not hundreds of years, these are where a lot of jokes come from. I found that fascinating and plausible, for sure.
I'd never heard that. I think that's probably true.
Not the answer we want necessarily.
Well, but it also could be, you know, guys in the service.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
You know, and you know, it could be
the origin of the joke.
But they come out of nowhere, and you go out and you hear these jokes, and
you can't seem to really track them. If it's a quote unquote joke, as opposed to a bit or routine, it's almost impossible to track the origin of it. So now it's all about the performance of it.
Well, the problem is also because, and if you go, there are thousands of sites where jokes are written out.
Oh, sure.
But you can't, they're not funny. No. You're reading a joke, and joke books sell like crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But reading a joke is not funny.
No.
It's bizarre.
Tone over text, too, is a problem. You know, the tone of the joke.
Yeah, yeah. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of work, and a lot of people are saying to me, you know, why? Aren't you, don't you got a movie to make, or are you bored, or, you know, but I'm fascinated with where the internet's going. I'm fascinated. I'm going to make this musical movie with these 2 singers, and I want to market it completely underground on the internet, and working with this, if you get a chance, find this kid Leon Jackson and this beautiful singer named Marie Digby. One's a YouTube star and one is a Scottish kid, and they're just fantastic. And they, you know, and I want to use their best friends. I want to use people with big internet footprints already. YouTube. You know, sensations. There's kids out there.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a wonderful kid who doesn't want to do the movie. He's a nice kid. I love him, but he doesn't want to do the movie. But his name is Mitchell Davis, in Ohio, and he's just does these great little films and has a huge following of these girls all over the world that just can't wait to see his new movie. And he's just, you know, he has a buddy. I forget his buddy's name. But they do some work together. You know, there's this girl in Australia named Nadine, has a site called Community Channel. And these people, this is what you and I would have been doing.
Yep.
You know what?
Oh, absolutely. If we had, if this was around, when we were 11 or 12. Are you kidding?
This is what we would been doing, but the great thing about them is they don't need to come to Hollywood.
Nope.
They don't need to put up with the bullshit.
Right.
You know, they don't need to wait in line outside the Improv every Monday night for 4 hours.
You throw something up and 1 million people see it instantly.
And if they're funny, and they get better, and they work their own things. And, you know, this kid Mitchell, God bless him, he's just such a great kid, too. But I wanted him to come to do this Fox pilot, and it's not right for me. Which, man, at 19 to know that,
imagine?
and by the way, he dodged a bullet, so, you know, but
we didn't even get a chance to talk about the Fox pilot and this horrible experience you had.
It's not even worth talking about. The actors
We'll talk
were
about
great.
it off the air.
I love the actors.
Right.
I love the actors, you know, I would put a bullet in my head before I went up that street again.
Oh, boy.
But I did love the actors, I have to say, and this kid, though, to know at that age...
19. I don't
no,
need, I don't
it
need to be in your
doesn't
TV
fit into
show.
my agenda. But I like it. You know, you can tell it's good, but it's not what I'm doing. And he's an artist. He's a true artist. And there's a lot of them out there. So I'm putting this movie together it's a music thing with these. When you get a chance, just look up Leon Jackson.
Leon Jackson.
He is
All right.
truly
I will
the closest
absolutely-
thing we have seen to Sinatra. Or
Holy
Bobby Darin.
Holy shit.
And he's not doing karaoke.
How old is he?
He's 20 years old. He's a phenom. He won American Idol in England. It's called the X Factor. You know, and as a young kid at 19. And he's just really very, very special. And this girl, Marie Digby, who lives here in Mandeville Canyon, just started looking into YouTube. She sang Rhiannon's Umbrella into her webcam. 14 million people watched her. 14 million. And now she's got her own album deal with Hollywood Pictures, and she's just got an amazing voice and a talent. And
No, it's untapped because there's an audience every day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
And that's why I think what you're doing is so great, because
We have 173 people watching, Mike.
So what?
No,
So
I'm kidding.
I don't care. You know what?
Believe me, we don't care.
Believe me, with everything else you got going, this is just so great to me that you're doing this, because
Oh no,
it's
the
really-
audience that watches whatever they choose to watch, you know, they're religious about it. They're passionate about it. And for what we do as creative people, come on, that's pretty much it. I
Yeah.
just want people who appreciate what it is I'm doing. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? I mean, we talked about it on the phone. The broadcast networks are no longer pitching their live numbers to the advertisers in order to sell their new shows. Look at our iTunes numbers. Look at our Hulu numbers. Look at our seriously.
Yeah.
Because their live numbers are shit. So they can't even discuss them anymore. You had a
Yeah.
6 share. Yeah, but take a look at these TiVo numbers.
And it's only going to get better, and it's only going to, all this equipment's going to get better. You know, I'm shooting on cameras now. I can't even believe I'm shooting on. And within,
I remember you looking into digital cameras 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, I shoot all digital, and I'm going to be shooting my next movie on a camera like that size, you know. And I love it, and I love the look, and it's all going to get better. We actually are in kind of a crummy time to be filmmakers, I think. You know.
In terms of technically?
No, not technically. In terms of the pipeline, you know, and
the pipeline stinks,
you know, the
absolutely.
distribution and the bullshit with the studios and the.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's you know, and they're only doing their thing. I don't ever like to say make them the bad guy, but they're the bad guy, you know, and they have to be, and because the pipeline's so small and the broadband that they want to work in is so tiny.
They sold too many pieces of the castle, and now they've got too many people to answer to, and it's all about the bottom line every fucking time.
So it's a bad time, you know.
So you're talking about launching a movie online. I mean, the notion that you would spend all this time to make a movie that would otherwise be seen in theaters, you know, they recently did the thing where it's released online at the same time as...
Well, actually, I don't know. That's not what my dream for this particular movie that I'm talking. Like I say, I'm going to do it when it's right. Is to make the movie for a price with these incredibly talented musicians. It's about a young kid that wants to be a crooner. It's called No Talent Jones, And then I'm going to build up. There's a lot of material as the movie's being made that will be online for people to watch and grow as the movie's made on all these people's sites and all their fans. And then when we're done with the movie, we're going to take the movie and a live concert out. So it's really not a theatrical kind of go to the movie theater thing at first, so much as it's, boy, we got a lot of followers in San Diego. Let's do a screening and a concert in San Diego.
Right.
We're doing great in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Let's go there and really build
It's a tour.
and get the tour and build it up, make the movie better, make the tour better, and then ultimately figure out where we want to go with it. But it's really going to be about building the audience, very similar to what you're doing with the show, just with a movie. And the music is so basically we're going to give the music away. You have to,
Right.
but it's so infectious that I really believe. And plus, it's a great story. It's like a Rocky movie. It's like the American Commitments.
Oh yeah, nice.
You know what I mean?
I do.
It's a kid who he's in Michigan and he goes to jail for a really stupid thing. And the whole time he's in jail, his dad's sending him Victimone and Nat King Cole and this music will calm you. And he gets out and all his little buddies, what are you gonna do? He says, I'm gonna croon. Like, what the fuck is crooning? What does that mean? They're kids today. They don't know.
I'm gonna croon. I'm sorry. That's fantastic. That's like that's a moment in the trailer. That's a moment that grabs you immediately.
And he ends up getting a shot to really do the big show with the 70-piece orchestra, and he does it. And I wrote it. Actually. It's oddly enough, I wrote it, and Sandler wanted to do it.
Wow.
Because Sandler loves those things, but he's too old. It wasn't right, and I threw it back on the shelf and I saw the video of this kid. I went, oh my God, I wrote this movie for this kid. I didn't even know him.
Yeah.
And I went to England and tracked him down.
Well, let that be another living example of not being in a hurry to get your movie made.
Right.
Seriously.
No, yeah, I'm not.
There's timing for all of this.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that movie until it's really right because it's a very special film. And plus, I love that music. I love all that Tony Bennett and, and Nat King Cole.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to come back on the show. You just have to keep me informed on that because I look forward to it. And
Listen,
I'll let them
I was kidding. I'll come back anytime you want.
Bring Leon and...
honestly, I will come back anytime you ever want me on this show.
Well, awesome, pal. Oh, I appreciate that very much. And that doesn't get you off the hook for having to do the Larry King game. My camera, please. I'm going to give Mike an example. All right? And Mike, you want to help zoom in that camera a little bit there? We're going to get off your ass and get to work and give me a little close-up on Larry. Mike, the deal is here that...
That's me.
There are three... Oh, I thought you thought I meant you. I'm sorry. There are three basic rules to the Larry King game, all right? You must do a bad Larry King impression.
Okay.
Anybody can do that. Then, as Larry, as if you're on the air, you must reveal something about yourself that no one should really know. And then go to the phones. And it helps if the name of the town is funny sounding.
Okay.
I showed you some examples during the intermission, which here's another example that was written in to our contact at kevinpollakschatshow.com by Greg Swinehart. Again, bad Larry King impression, reveal something about yourself and go to the phones. I've always assumed the bridge that Simon and Garfunkel sang about must be both fleshy and fun. Boys Town, Florida. What's your question for Debbie Reynolds? What's your question for Debbie Reynolds? We've never had that before. That's fantastic. Or it actually involves a guest. All right, now, I'm going to give you a minute to, unless you've already got yours worked up. You want to take a minute?
We got a commercial break? Or
no.
We got to go to the bathroom again?
I'm going to hit you right away.
All right.
This is going out if it's the live CD there of the stand-up. If Lee...
by the way, it's a great little hour of stand-up.
That's not a bad way to spend an hour.
No.
Even if you break it up into 4 minutes apiece. Greg Swinehart, who wrote and got that Larry King on, please write us back and give us your address so I can send you one of those, please. Now, without further ado, and remember, as always, I will give you this camera to look into as Larry King. When you're ready, fire away, my friend, and make it count.
Hello, Larry King here.
little confession for those of you watching the last 62 shows. I've done it with a finger in my ass. So 2 fingers. Just wanted to say that so the people watching didn't think I was a one-armed man. So this finger is here, these hands. Altoona, Michigan, you're lucky you're not here. What you call?
Nice. That's the way to bring it home. Thanks, pal. I will see you next time. It's so amazing that you were able to share as much as you did in only an hour and a half.
Congratulations to you. To all you guys for doing this show, all your people, everyone.
Thank you.
You guys do a real nice thing.
Thank you very much, pal. In fact, let's go ahead and cut to the launch the space shuttle crew. If that camera's still up and running, there they are. Oh, I see. They were prepared and waiting. They've got a little show to put on. All right, back to work. Yeah. Nice. Nicely done. And a little shot of my my studio audience, as well as at Jamie_Fox on your Twitter there. She's working away. She's got most of her clothes on this time. All right. That's our show. If you'd like to write us and tell us your thoughts, if you'd like to submit any sort of music for the opening, we thank the Fallen Stars again.
Can I say one more thing?
You can say only one more thing.
I just want you to mention that book.
Yeah.
Chris Anderson, who wrote The Long Tale, has a new book out called Free that you and people that are into this world need to read.
It's called Free?
Free. It's amazing.
Fascinating book. All right. I will check that out immediately, and so should you. Thank you very much for that, Mike. Free is the name of the book. All right, we will see you next week with Nick Swartz, and I'm very excited about that one. I want to thank the entire crew here. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been in our studio, and it was wonderful to come back and spend 2 hours and 18 minutes with you. And even though we're down to 1 guest, 1.5 this time, I promise one day we'll do the show in under 3 hours. In the meantime, as always, thanks for being here, and get out of my face.
He's all of the rainbows, but none of the rain. He's dry, but he's an alcoholic. He's hosting this train wreck again and again. And he wears a hat. He's carrying